In the shadow of Varnholt Manor, where fog never lifts and secrets whisper in the walls, Elias Varnholt lives a quiet life until the visions begin. A ruined city, a starless sky, and a voice that calls him the key, haunted by glimpses of a future he doesn't understand. Elias finds the Chronicle of the Audiobook that holds the secrets of time itself. But he's not alone. A mysterious stranger, Clara, seeks the book, and the shadowy order of the veil hunts them both. As the manor's shadows deepen and the keeper of time watches, Elias must face a chilling truth, knowing the future could cost him everything. Welcome to He Saw the End, a dark time mystery. Can you unravel the secrets before time runs out? Chapter 1. The First Glimpse. Elias Varnholt woke with a start, his heart pounding like a drum in his chest. The air in his bedroom was cold, heavy with the musty scent of old wood and damp stone. His ancestral estate, a sprawling maze of creaking floors and shadowed halls, loomed around him in the pre-dawn gloom. The dream still clung to his mind, vivid and sharp, like a painting etched in fire. He'd seen a city in ruins, its towers crumbled, streets choked with ash. The sky above burned with strange light threads and purples swirling like spilled ink. A voice, low and echoing, had whispered through the chaos, saying, "Find the key, or all will fade." He sat up, his breath fogging in the chill. The room was dark, save for a sliver of moonlight slipping through the cracked shutters. The estate, Varnholt Manor, had been in his family for centuries, a relic of forgotten wealth. Its walls, lined with faded portraits and peeling wallpaper, seemed to watch him. Elias rubbed his eyes, trying to shake the dream, but it wasn't just a dream. It felt real, like a memory he hadn't lived yet. He swung his legs over the bed's edge, his bare feet touching the cold floor. The boards groaned under his weight. He was 32, lean, with dark hair that fell messily over his forehead. His grey eyes, sharp and restless, scanned the room. Everything was as it should be: the heavy oak dresser, the tarnished mirror, the stack of old books on the nightstand. Yet something felt off, like the air itself was holding its breath. Elias stood and pulled on a worn sweater, its wool scratching his skin. He crossed to the window and pushed the shutters open. Outside, the estate's grounds stretched into the distance, swallowed by a thick fog that curled through the trees. The forest beyond was a wall of shadows, its branches twisted like skeletal hands. He shivered, not just from the cold. The dream's images flashed again, those strange lights, the ruined city, the voice. He'd never seen that place before, yet he knew it. Knew its streets, its smells, the weight of its despair. He shook his head, trying to clear the fog in his mind. "Just a dream," he muttered, but the words felt hollow. He turned from the window and grabbed a candle from the nightstand. The estate's electricity was spotty, especially in the older wings, and he'd grown used to navigating by candlelight. He lit the wick, the flame flickering like a tiny heartbeat, and headed for the door. The hallway outside was a tunnel of darkness, its walls lined with portraits of long-dead. Their painted eyes seemed to follow him, their faces stern and pale. Elias ignored them, his candle casting jittery shadows. He moved toward the library, a room he'd always found comforting. Its shelves, packed with dusty tomes, held on at least distractions. Maybe he could find something to explain the dream. The library door creaked as he pushed it open. The air inside was thick with the smell of leather and mildew. Tall windows let in faint moonlight, painting the room in shades of grey. Elias set the candle on a table and scanned the shelves. His fingers brushed over cracked spines, titles in languages he barely understood: Latin, Old German, something. Older, his family had collected strange books, relics of their obsession with the occult. He'd never cared much for it, but now, with the dream gnawing at him, he wondered. He pulled a book at random, its cover black and worn, no title visible. As he opened it, a sharp pain stabbed behind his eyes. The room spun, and for a moment he wasn't in the library. He was in the ruined city again, standing on a cracked street. The sky pulsed with those alien lights, and the voice whispered, "The key, Elias. Find it," he gasped, dropping the book. It hit the floor with a thud, pages splaying open. The candle flickered but didn't go out. "What's happening to me?" he whispered, clutching his head. The pain faded, but the memory of the vision lingered. He knelt to pick up the book, his hands shaking. The pages were blank. No, not blank. Faint lines shimmered, like ink made of starlight. He squinted, trying to read them, but they vanished when he blinked. Elias stood, his heart racing. This wasn't just a dream. It was something more, something real. He needed answers, but the library felt too big, too quiet. He grabbed the candle and left, his footsteps echoing in the empty hall. Back in his room, he sat on the bed, staring at the flame. The estate was silent, but it didn't feel empty. It felt alive, watching him, waiting. Morning came slowly, the fog outside thinning to a grey haze. Elias, dressed in simple clothes, jeans, a flannel shirt, hand headed downstairs. The kitchen was cold, its stone walls damp. He made coffee, the old pot hissing as it brewed. As he sipped the bitter drink, a knock at the front door startled him. The sound was sharp, cutting through the silence. He hesitated. Visitors were rare. The estate was miles from the nearest town, hidden deep in the forest. He set the mug down and walked to the entrance hall. The door, massive and carved with vines, loomed ahead. Another knock, louder this time. Elias opened it, the hinges groaning. A woman stood on the porch, her coat dusted with mist. She was young, maybe 25, with dark hair tied back and sharp green eyes. A leather satchel hung from her shoulder. "Elias Varnholt?" she asked, her voice steady but curious. "Yes," he said, frowning. "Who are you?" "Clara Hensley," she said, offering a small smile. "I'm an antiquarian. I study old artifacts, rare books. I've heard your family has unique items. May I come in?" Elias's stomach twisted. Her name felt familiar, like an echo from his dream. He hadn't told anyone about the estate's collection, yet she knew. "What do you want?" he asked, not moving. "I'm looking for something specific," she said. "A book, or maybe an object. It's called the Chronicle of the Void. Ever heard of it?" The name hit him like a shock. He hadn't heard it before, not in words, but it felt right, like a piece of his dream clicking into place. "No." He lied, stepping aside. "But come in. It's cold out there." Clara stepped inside, her boots clicking on the stone floor. The entrance hall was grand but faded, its chandelier dark with cobwebs. She glanced around, her eyes lingering on the portraits. "This place is impressive," she said. "Old, full of secrets." Elias didn't respond. He led her to the sitting room, where a fire crackled in the hearth. The warmth did little to ease the chill in his bones. Clara sat, setting her satchel beside her. "Your family's known for collecting odd things," she said. Books, relics, things tied to, strange ideas. The Chronicle is one of them. It's said to hold knowledge about time itself. Time? Elias asked, his voice tight. The dream flashed again, the city, the lights, the voice. Yes, Clara said, watching him closely. Some say it records events that haven't happened yet, or events that never will. It's a myth, mostly, but I think it's real, and I think it's here. Elias's mouth went dry. He wanted to tell her about the dream, the visions, but something held him back. She seemed kind, but there was a sharpness in her eyes, like she knew more than she was saying. I don't know about any book like that, he said. But you can look around. The library's upstairs. Her smile widened, but it didn't reach her eyes. Thank you, I'd like that. They spent the morning in the library, Clara poring over shelves while Elias watched. She moved with purpose, her fingers tracing titles, her satchel always close. He tried to focus, but his mind kept drifting to the dream. The ruined city, the voice, the key. What was the key? And why did Clara's presence feel like part of it? By noon, they'd found nothing. Clara didn't seem frustrated, though. She sat at a table, flipping through a dusty journal. Your family was unusual, she said. They wrote about stars, time, things beyond our world. Did they ever talk about that? My parents died when I was young, Elias said. I grew up here, but I don't know much about their work. Just that they were obsessed. Clara nodded, her eyes soft but probing. I'm sorry, but this place, it's special. I can feel it. There's something here, Elias. Something big. He didn't answer. The dream was stirring again, fragments surfacing like splinters in his mind. He saw Clara in the ruined city holding a book that glowed with starlight. He blinked and the vision faded. She was still there, watching him. You okay? She asked. Fine, he lied. Just tired. They ate a simple lunch, bread, cheese, coffee in the kitchen. Clara talked about her work, her travels, but Elias barely listened. His mind was elsewhere, tangled in the dream. He knew things he shouldn't, like the fact that Clara would spill her coffee in 10 seconds. He counted silently, and sure enough, her hand slipped, splashing coffee across the table. Oh, clumsy me, she laughed, grabbing a cloth. But Elias's heart was pounding. He'd known it would happen, just like he'd known her name before she said it. The afternoon passed in a blur. Clara searched more shelves, finding nothing. Elias helped, but his thoughts were on the dream. By evening, the fog outside had thickened, wrapping the estate in a grey shroud. Clara stood at a window, her silhouette sharp against the glass. I'll come back tomorrow, she said. If that's okay. Elias nodded, though his gut told him to say no. Sure, there's a guest room if you want to stay. She shook her head. I've got a place in town, but thanks. She grabbed her satchel and left, her footsteps fading into the fog, alone. Elias returned to the library. The black book still lay on the floor where he'd dropped it. He picked it up, his fingers trembling. The pages were blank again, but as he stared, the pain returned a sharp stab behind his eyes. The room vanished, and he was back in the ruined city. The voice spoke, louder now. The key is within you, Elias. Find it, or all will fade. He dropped the book, gasping. The candle flickered wildly, casting shadows that danced like ghosts. He backed away, his mind racing. This wasn't a dream. It was a warning, a memory, a future. He didn't sleep that night. He sat by the fire, staring into the flames, the estate creaking around him. Clara's visit, the book, the visions, they were connected. He didn't know how, but he felt it. The manor, with its secrets and shadows, was waking up. And Elias, the man who remembered the future, was at its heart. The fog pressed against the windows, thick and alive. Somewhere in its depths, the voice whispered again, faint but clear, "Find the key." Chapter 2. The weight of knowing. Elias barely slept, his mind a tangle of the previous night's visions. The ruined city, the swirling sky, the cryptic voice, they clung to him like damp fog. Dawn crept into Varnholt Manor, its grey light seeping through the cracked windows of his bedroom. The air was heavy, thick with the scent of old wood and dust. He lay still, staring at the ceilings, peeling plaster, his heart uneasy. The estate felt alive, its walls whispering secrets he couldn't yet grasp. He rose, his body stiff from the cold. The floorboards creaked under his bare feet as he pulled on a faded shirt and jeans. The memory of Clara's visit gnawed at him, her sharp eyes, her talk of the Chronicle of the Void. Her name had sparked something in him, a flicker of recognition from his dream. He didn't trust her, not fully, but she was the only clue he had. Downstairs, the kitchen was a cavern of stone and shadow. Elias brewed coffee, the pots hiss, the only sound in the silence. He sipped the bitter drink, his gaze drifting to the window. The fog outside was thinner today, but it still cloaked the forest, turning the trees into ghostly shapes. He thought of the voice, "Find the key," and shivered. What key, and why did it feel like the answer was buried inside him? A sharp knock broke his thoughts. He froze, the mug halfway to his lips. Clara, she'd said she'd return, but the sound still jolted him. He crossed the entrance hall, the portraits of his ancestors watching with their painted, hollow eyes. The heavy front door groaned as he opened it. Clara stood there, her dark coat dusted with mist. Her green eyes met his, steady and searching. "Morning, Elias," she said, her voice warm but edged with purpose. Her satchel hung at her side, bulging with papers and tools. "Ready to keep looking?" Elias nodded, stepping aside. "Yeah, come in." His voice was tight, betraying the unease curling in his gut. She brushed past him, her boots clicking on the stone floor. The air seemed to shift with her presence, like the manor itself was taking notice. They headed to the library, the candle from last night still flickering on the table. Clara set her satchel down and pulled out a notebook, its pages crammed with sketches and notes. "I did some digging last night," she said, flipping to a page with a drawing of a strange semicircle crossed with jagged lines, like a broken star. "Ever seen this?" Elias's breath caught. The symbol was in his dream, carved into the ruins of the city. He shook his head, lying again. "No, what is it?" Clara's eyes narrowed slightly, but she didn't push. "It's old, tied to stories about the Chronicle. Some say it's a mark of something, not human." She paused, watching him. "Your family collected things like this? Relics, books, things that don't belong in our world?" Elias's stomach twisted. He wanted to tell her about the visions, the voice, but the words stuck in his throat. Instead, he gestured to the shelves. "Let's keep looking. If this chronicle's here, it's probably buried deep." They searched for hours, pulling books from shelves, their hands coated in dust. The library was a maze of leather-bound tomes, some crumbling, others written in scripts Elias couldn't read. Clara moved with focus, her fingers quick and sure. But Elias's mind wandered. Every book he touched seemed to hum, a faint vibration that made his skin prickle. He kept seeing flashes, streets of ash, a sky of fire, Clara holding a glowing book. Each vision hit like a punch, leaving him dizzy. By midday, they'd found nothing. Clara sat at the table, her notebook open, sketching the symbol again. Elias stood by a window, staring at the fog. "You said this chronicle records the future," he said, his voice low. "How's that possible?" Clara didn't look up. "It's not just the future. It's time past, present, everything. Some say it was written by something that sees all moments at once, a being outside our reality." Elias's heart thudded. The keeper, the name came unbidden, a whisper from his dream. He turned to her, his mouth dry. A being, like what? She met his gaze, her expression unreadable. "Nobody knows. The stories call it different names, watcher, keeper, the void's eye. It's not something you meet. It's something you feel." She closed her notebook. "If the chronicle's here, it's dangerous, but it could answer questions we've never dared ask." Elias wanted to press her, to ask what she wasn't saying, but a sharp pain stabbed. Behind his eyes, the room blurred, and he was in the ruined city again. Clara stood before him, her face pale, her hands clutching a book that pulsed with light. The voice boomed. "The key is you, Elias. Open the door," he gasped, staggering. Back. The library snapped back into focus, Clara staring at him. "You okay?" she asked, standing. "You look like you saw a ghost." "I'm fine," he muttered, rubbing his temples. But he wasn't. The visions were getting stronger, more real. He knew things, small things, like the way Clara would tuck her hair behind her ear in a moment, or the exact words she'd say next. And then she did, saying, "Let's take a break. You need it." He nodded, his mind racing. They ate lunch in the kitchen, bread, apples, cheese sitting across from each other in silence. Elias watched her, trying to piece together why she felt so familiar. Was she in his visions because she was here now, or was it something deeper? He remembered the coffee spill from yesterday, how he'd known it would happen. Could he trust her? After lunch, they returned to the library. Clara knelt by a lower shelf, pulling out a small, black book, the same one Elias had dropped last night. She opened it, frowning. "This is strange," she said. "The pages are blank, but—" She held it to the light, squinting. "There's something here, like faint writing." Elias's pulse quickened. He took the book, his fingers brushing hers. The moment he touched it, the pain returned, sharper this time. The library vanished, and he was in the city again, standing on a broken bridge. The sky churned, and the voice whispered, "The key is within. Find it, or all is lost." He saw himself older, worn, holding the same book, its pages glowing. Then Clara's voice cut through, pulling him back. "Elias." He blinked, the book still in his hands. Clara was gripping his arm, her eyes wide. "You were gone," she said. Not moving, just staring. "What happened?" He pulled away, his breath shaky. "Nothing, just dizzy." He set the book down, his hands trembling. The pages were blank again, but he knew what he'd seen. The Chronicle. It was real, and it was here. Clara watched him, her face a mix of worry and suspicion. "If you know something, Elias, tell me. We're in this together." He wanted to believe her, but the visions warned him otherwise. She was part of this, but was she friend or foe? "I don't know anything," he said, his voice flat. "Let's keep looking." They worked until dusk, the library growing darker as the fog thickened outside. Clara found nothing else, but Elias felt the weight of the visions growing. Every book, every shadow seemed to pulse with meaning. When Clara left, promising to return tomorrow, Elias felt a mix of relief and dread. She was his only link to answers, but she was also a danger. That night, he sat by the fire, the black book in his lap. He didn't open it, afraid of what he'd see. The manor creaked around him, its walls alive with whispers. The voice from his dreams echoed in his mind. The key is you. He didn't understand, but he knew one thing. The Chronicle was real, and it was calling him. The weight of knowing was heavy, but he couldn't turn back now. Chapter 3. The shattered mirror. Elias sat alone in the library, the black book unopened on the table. The candle's flame flickered, casting long shadows across the shelves. Night had fallen, and Varnholt Manor was a maze of creaks and whispers. The fog outside pressed against the windows, thick and grey, like it was trying to seep inside. His head ached from the visions, the ruined city, the voice, Clara's face in a future he didn't understand. Each one felt heavier, like stones piling on his chest. He hadn't told Clara about the visions. Her sharp eyes and questions made him wary, though she seemed kind. The Chronicle of the Void, the book she sought, was tied to his dreams. He was sure of it, but what was it? And why did it feel like the manor itself was part of the puzzle? He stood, his legs stiff, and grabbed the candle. Its light wobbled as he moved deeper into the library. The air was thick with dust and the faint smell of old paper. He needed answers, something to make sense of the voice that kept saying, "Find the key." His eyes caught on a narrow staircase in the corner, half hidden behind a shelf. He'd seen it before, but never climbed it. The manor was full of forgotten places, rooms his family had sealed off long ago. The stairs creaked under his weight, each step groaning like a warning. At the top was a door, its wood warped and splintered. He pushed it open, the hinges screaming. The room beyond was small, an attic cluttered with junk-broken chairs, dusty trunks, a cracked mirror leaning against the wall. The air was colder here, sharp with the scent of mold. Elias held the candle higher, its light glinting off the mirror's surface. He stepped closer, drawn to it. The mirror was tall, its frame carved with strange shaped circles and jagged lines, like the symbol Clara had shown him. His reflection stared back, pale and tired, his grey eyes hollow. But as he looked, the glass shimmered, like water rippling. His reflection changed. He saw himself in the ruined city, standing among crumbled buildings, the sky pulsing with red and purple lights. His other self held a book, the Chronicle, its pages glowing with starlight. Elias's breath caught. He reached out, his fingers brushing the glass. It was cold, unnaturally so, and a shock ran through him. The room vanished, and he was in the city, the air thick with ash. The voice boomed, "The key is time, Elias, see it." He saw flashes Clara, her face twisted with fear, a sundial glowing in the fog, his own hands marked with that strange symbol. Then the vision shattered, and he was back in the attic, gasping, the candle nearly out. The mirror was still, his reflection normal again, but it wasn't just a mirror. It was something more, a window to the visions that haunted him. He backed away, his heart pounding. The attic felt smaller now, the shadows deeper. He needed to know more, but the mirror scared him. It knew things, saw things, just like he did. He returned to the library, his mind racing. The black book was still on the table, its blank pages taunting him. He didn't touch it, afraid of another vision. Instead, he sat by the fire, trying to piece it together. The mirror, the book, the voice, they were connected. And Clara, she'd come looking for the Chronicle. But did she know about the mirror? Did she know about him? Morning came, the fog outside thinning to a pale mist. Elias was exhausted, his eyes burning. He made coffee, the routine grounding him. Clara would be back soon, and he wasn't sure how to face her. He wanted to trust her, but the visions warned him her face in the ruined city, holding the glowing book. Was she part of the answer or the danger? A knock at the door broke his thoughts. He opened it to find Clara, her coat damp, her satchel heavy. "Morning," she said, her smile quick but guarded. "Find anything new?" Elias hesitated. "No," he said, his voice steady despite the lie. "Just more books." She nodded, stepping inside. "Let's try the upper floors today. Old places like this hide things in strange corners." He led her to the attic, his stomach tight. He didn't mention the mirror, but when they reached the room, Clara's eyes locked onto it. "This is unusual," she said, stepping closer. Her fingers traced the carved frame, lingering on the symbols. "These are old, older than this house." "What do they mean?" Elias asked, watching her closely. She didn't answer right away. "They're tied to stories about time," she said finally. "About seeing things that haven't happened, or things that shouldn't." She looked at him, her green eyes sharp. "Ever looked in this mirror, Elias?" His throat tightened. "It's just a mirror," he said, but his voice wavered. Clara's gaze held his, like she could see through him. "Maybe," she said, turning back to the mirror, "but it feels alive." They spent the morning searching the attic, sorting through trunks and crates. Clara found a few old letters written in his great-grandfather's hand, mentioning the gift of sight and the cost of knowing. Elias read them, his hands shaking. His family had known something, maybe the same thing he was seeing now, but the letters didn't mention a mirror or a book. By noon, Clara was dusty but focused, her notebook full of new sketches. Elias felt the weight of the visions growing, each one sharper, more real. He saw Clara again, in the city, her face lit by the glowing book. He saw himself, older, broken, begging her to stop. He blinked, and the attic was back, Clara staring at him. "You keep zoning out," she said, her voice soft but firm. "What's going on, Elias?" "Nothing," he snapped, harsher than he meant. "Just tired." She didn't push, but her eyes didn't leave him. They ate lunch downstairs, the silence heavy. Clara talked about her research, about myths of time and stars, but Elias barely listened. His mind was on the mirror, the visions, the voice. He knew things, small things, like the way Clara would drop her fork in a moment. And then she did, the metal clattering on the stone floor. Clumsy today, she laughed, but Elias's heart raced. He'd known it would happen, just like the coffee spill. The visions weren't just dreams. They were the future, bleeding into now. They returned to the attic, Clara sketching the mirror's symbols while Elias pretended to search. He couldn't stop glancing at the glass, expecting it to shimmer again. By dusk, Clara packed her things. "I'll be back tomorrow," she said. "We're close, Elias. I can feel it." He nodded, his throat dry. When she left, the manor felt emptier, but the mirror's presence lingered in his mind. That night, he stood before it again, candle in hand. The glass was still, but he felt it watching. He touched the frame, and the pain hit sharp, blinding. The city returned, the voice louder. The key is you, Elias. Open the door, or all will fade. He stumbled back, the candle falling. The flame died, leaving him in darkness. The manor creaked, and the fog outside whispered. The mirror knew. Him knew his visions. And somewhere, deep in the estate, the Chronicle waited. Chapter 4. Whispers in the fog. Elias stood in the attic, the mirror's dark surface staring back. The candle he'd dropped had gone out, leaving him in a blackness that felt alive. His heart thumped, the voice from his vision still echoing. The key is you, Elias. Open the door. The words were a weight pressing on his chest. He fumbled for the candle, relit it with shaky hands, and fled the attic. The manor's halls swallowed him, their shadows twisting in the flickering light. Back in his room, he didn't sleep. The fog outside was thick, curling against the windows like smoke. Varnholt Manor creaked, its old bones groaning as if it knew his fear. The mirror, the visions, Clara were pieces of a puzzle he didn't want to solve. But the voice wouldn't let him rest. Find the key, it had said. He didn't know what it meant, but it felt like a warning. A pull toward something he couldn't escape. Dawn came, grey and heavy. Elias, dressed in a worn jacket and boots, his eyes burning from lack of sleep. He needed air, needed to get out of the manor's suffocating walls. He grabbed a flashlight. The estate's power was too unreliable and stepped outside. The fog was denser than yesterday, a cold, wet blanket that muffled sound. The forest loomed ahead, its trees gnarled and black, like fingers reaching for the sky. He walked, the gravel path crunching under his boots. The fog made everything strange, turning familiar shapes into ghosts. He'd grown up exploring these grounds, but today they felt different, alive with secrets. His breath puffed in the air, and his flashlight's beam barely cut through the haze. He didn't know where he was going, just that he couldn't stay inside. Trapped with the mirror's gaze, the path led to a clearing he hadn't seen in years. In its center stood an old sundial, its stone base cracked and moss-covered. Elias stopped, his skin prickling. The sundial was in his visions, glowing, pulsing, surrounded by the ruined city. He stepped closer, the fog swirling around him. The dial's surface was carved with symbols, like those on the mirror. They weren't words, not exactly, but they felt alive. Humming under his fingertips, he touched the stone, and a jolt ran through him. The fog thickened, and the air grew heavy, like a storm was coming. The voice whispered, not in his head, but from the fog itself. The key is near. Find it. Elias spun, his flashlight shaking. The clearing was empty, but the whisper came. Again, soft and cold. Find it, Elias. He backed away, his heart racing. The sundial pulsed, a faint glow flickering in its carvings. He blinked, and it was gone, just stone again. But the whisper lingered, weaving through the fog. He turned, his boots slipping on wet grass, and ran back toward the manor. The fog seemed to chase him, curling around his legs, tugging at his jacket. Inside, he slammed the door, his breath ragged. The manor was quiet, but it didn't feel safe. He went to the kitchen, splashing cold water on his face. The sink's drip was the only sound, steady and mocking. He thought of Clara, due to arrive soon. She'd want to search again, ask more questions. He didn't know how much longer he could hide the visions. They were growing stronger, bleeding into his waking life. A knock at the door made him jump. Clara stood outside, her coat damp, her satchel heavy. "You look awful," she said, her green eyes narrowing. "Rough night?" "Something like that," Elias muttered, letting her in. Her boots echoed in the entrance hall, the portraits watching as always. He led her to the library, avoiding the attic. The mirror was too much, too raw. Clara set her notebook on the table, flipping to a new page. "I found something last night," she said, her voice low, "a reference to your family. They weren't just collectors, they were keepers. Guardians of something big." "Like what?" Elias asked, his throat tight. The sundial's glow flashed in his mind. She hesitated, her fingers tracing a sketch of the symbol, something tied to time, to seeing what's coming. "The Chronicles. Part of it, but there's more. Objects, places like this manor." She looked at him, her gaze sharp. "You ever feel like this place is watching you?" Elias's stomach twisted. She was too close to the truth. "It's old," he said, dodging. "Old places feel strange." Clara didn't push, but her eyes lingered. They searched the library, pulling books, finding nothing. Elias's mind was elsewhere, on the sundial, the whisper, the visions. He saw Clara drop a book before she did, knew she'd curse under her breath. When it happened, his hands shook. The future was leaking into now, and he couldn't stop it. At lunch, they sat in the kitchen, eating bread and soup. Clara was quiet, her notebook open. "Your great-grandfather wrote about a key," she said, not looking up. "Not a literal key, but something that unlocks time. He thought it was here." Elias's heart skipped. The voice's words find the key. "Did he say what it was?" he asked, his voice steady despite the panic. "No," Clara said, "but he was afraid of it. Said it came with a cost." She looked at him, her eyes searching. "You sure you haven't seen anything strange, Elias?" He wanted to tell her about the mirror, the sundial, the voice. But the visions warned him, showing Clara in the ruined city, her hands on the glowing book. "Nothing," he lied, his voice flat. She didn't believe him, he could see it in her eyes, but she let it go. They returned to the library, the air heavy with unspoken questions. By dusk, Clara packed her things. "I'll be back," she said. "We're getting closer." When she left, Elias stood by the window, watching the fog swallow her figure. He didn't go back to the attic. Instead, he walked to the clearing, the flashlight's beam trembling. The sundial stood silent, its symbols dark. But as he stared, the fog whispered again, faint but clear, "The key is you." He ran back to the manor, locking the door. The visions were real, the sundial was real, and the voice was real. The manor was waking, and Elias was at its center, carrying a weight. He didn't understand. Chapter 5. Clara's secret. Elias woke with a jolt, his breath ragged. The manor was silent, but the air felt heavy, like a storm was brewing inside its walls. His dreams had been a blur of the ruined city, the sundial's glow, and the voice, whispering, "The key is you." He rubbed his face, trying to shake the images. The fog outside his window was thin, letting weak morning light spill into his room. Varnholt Manor creaked, its shadows long and sharp. He dressed quickly, pulling on a faded sweater and boots. The sundial in the clearing haunted him, its symbols, its pulse, the voice in the fog. He hadn't told Clara about it, or the mirror, or the visions that came unbidden, showing him things he shouldn't know. Her talk of the Chronicle of the Void was too close to his truth, and her sharp eyes made him uneasy. She was hiding something, he was sure of it. Downstairs, he brewed coffee, the pot's hiss grounding him. He stood by the kitchen window, staring at the forest. The trees were still, but the fog lingered, curling like fingers around their trunks. He thought of the sundial, its carvings matching the mirrors. They were part of this whatever this was. The manor, the chronicle, the key. It was all connected, and he was trapped in the middle. A knock at the door snapped him back. Clara stood on the porch, her coat damp, her satchel slung over her shoulder. Her green eyes met his, bright but guarded. "Morning, Elias," she said, her voice steady, ready to dig deeper. He nodded, stepping aside. "Yeah, come in." His words were clipped, his trust thin. She walked past, her boots echoing in the entrance hall. The portraits seemed to watch her, their painted faces cold. They went to the library, the air thick with dust and secrets. Clara set her notebook on the table, pulling out a sketch of the symbol circle and jagged lines, like a broken star. "I've been thinking," she said, tapping the page. "This mark, it's not just in your family's books. It's in old stories, tied to something." Called the Keeper of Time, Elias's heart lurched. The Keeper. The name from his visions, the entity Clara had mentioned before. He kept his face blank. What's that supposed to mean? She leaned closer, her voice low. The Keeper's a myth, or so they say. A being that lives outside time, watching every moment past, future, all at once. The Chronicle's supposed to be its work, a record of everything. But it's not just a book, it's alive. Elias's mouth went dry. The black book, the mirror, the sundial, they all felt alive, humming with something he couldn't name. "And you think it's here?" he asked, his voice tight. "I know it is," Clara said, her eyes locking on his. "This manor, your family, they were chosen. Guardians, maybe, or cursed." She paused, watching him. "You've seen something, haven't you?" His pulse raced. She was too close, seeing too much. "No," he lied, turning to the shelves. "Let's just look." They searched, pulling books, flipping through brittle pages. Elias's mind was elsewhere, on the visions that came without warning. He saw Clara spill her ink before she did, knew she'd mutter a curse. When it happened, his hands shook. The future was slipping into now, and he couldn't stop it. Hours passed, the library growing dim as noon approached. Clara knelt by a shelf, her fingers tracing a book's spine. "Elias," she said, her voice sharp. "Come here." He crossed. To her, his stomach tight. She held a thin, leather-bound journal, its cover stamped with a symbol. "This was your great-grandfather's," she said, opening it. The pages were crammed with tight, frantic writing. "He talks about the Chronicle. Says it's hidden here, protected by the key." Elias's breath caught. The key. The voice's word, now in ink. "What else does it say?" he asked, leaning closer. Clara's eyes flicked to him, then back to the page. He was scared. Said the Chronicle showed him things futures, disasters, things he couldn't change. He wrote about a cost, something the Keeper demands. She closed the journal, her face pale. "Elias, if we find this book, we need to be careful." He nodded, his mind spinning. The visions, the voice, the Keeper, they were real and his. Family had known, but Clara's tone, her quick glance had set him on edge. She knew more than she was saying. They ate lunch in silence, bread and cheese on the kitchen table. Elias watched her, his unease growing. She was too calm, too focused. After lunch, she stood, grabbing her satchel. "I need to check something," she said. "There's a room I saw yesterday, near the attic. Mind if I look alone?" Elias frowned. "Why alone?" She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Just need space to think. I'll be quick." He didn't like it, but he nodded. "Fine, I'll be here." She left, her footsteps fading up the stairs. Elias waited, his gut twisting. The manor was too quiet, the air too still. He couldn't shake the feeling that Clara was after more than the Chronicle. He grabbed his flashlight and followed, keeping his steps soft. The attic door was ajar, a faint light spilling out. He crept closer, peering inside. Clara stood by the mirror, her back to him, muttering under her breath. She held a small object, a pendant carved with the symbol. She pressed it to the mirror's frame, and the glass shimmered, rippling like water. Elias's heart stopped. She knew about the mirror, knew what it did. He stepped forward, his boot creaking. Clara spun, her eyes wide. "Elias," she gasped, hiding the pendant. What are you doing?" he demanded, his voice low. "What's that?" She hesitated, then sighed, her shoulders slumping. "All right," she said. "I haven't been honest. Not completely." She stepped away from the mirror, her face tense. "I'm not just an antiquarian. I work for people who study things like the Chronicle. They sent me here." "Who?" Elias asked, his fists clenching. "And why?" Clara's eyes met his, steady but wary. "They're called the Order of the Veil. They've tracked the Chronicle for centuries. They think it's the key to understanding time, maybe controlling it. This pendant, it's a relic, tied to the Keeper. It reacts to objects like this mirror." Elias's head spun. The Order, the Keeper, the mirror, it was too much. "You lied," he said, his voice shaking. "You used me." "I didn't lie," she said, stepping closer. "I just didn't tell you everything. I needed to be sure you were safe. The Chronicle's dangerous, Elias, and you're part of it. I've seen your name in their records." His blood ran cold. "What?" "Your family," she said, her voice soft. "They weren't just keepers. They were marked, chosen by the Keeper, or cursed. You're seeing things, aren't you? Visions." He froze, his lie crumbling. She knew. "How did you?" "The Order's texts mention it," she said. "The marked sea time, fragments of what's coming. It's why you're here, why the Chronicle's here. You're the key, Elias." The voice's words, the key, is urine in his head. He backed away, his heart pounding. "Get out," he said. "Now." Clara's face fell. "Elias, please. I want to help." "The Order, get out," he shouted, his voice echoing in the attic. She stared at him, then grabbed her satchel and left, the door slamming behind her. Elias sank to the floor, the mirror looming above him. Clara's secret, the Order, the Keeper, it was all real, and he was at its heart. The manor's shadows deepened, and the fog outside whispered, calling him to find the key. Chapter 6. The Library of Shadows. Elias stood in the attic, the mirror's dark surface glaring back at him. Clara's betrayal burned in his chest. She'd known about his visions, his family, the Keeper, all, while pretending to be a curious scholar. The Order of the Veil, she'd called them. People hunting the Chronicle of the Void, maybe hunting him. The manor's walls seemed to close in, their shadows thick with secrets. He clutched the candle, its flame trembling, and left the attic. He couldn't stay there, not with the mirror watching. Downstairs, the library was a cave of silence. its shelves looming like sentinels. The black book still sat on the table, its blank pages taunting him. Elias's head throbbed, the voice from his visions echoing. "The key is you." Clara's words twisted at further. She'd called him the key, said his family was marked. He didn't understand, but the weight of it crushed him. He needed answers, not more questions. He paced, his boots scuffing the dusty floor. The manor creaked, as if answering his thoughts. He stopped, his flashlight beam catching on a crack in the wall behind a shelf. It was narrow, barely noticeable, but it felt wrong, like it didn't belong. He pushed the shelf, muscles straining. It groaned, sliding aside to reveal a hidden door, its wood dark and carved with the same jagged symbol circle and broken lines. His heart raced. The manor was hiding things, just like Clara. He touched the door, expecting a vision, but nothing. Came just cold wood under his fingers. He pushed, and it opened with a low moan, revealing a staircase descending into darkness. The air was damp, smelling of earth and decay. Elias hesitated, then grabbed the candle and started down the steps, creaking under his weight. The staircase ended in a chamber, vast and cold. His flashlight swept over stone walls, etched with symbols that glowed faintly like dying embers. Shelves lined the room, packed with books and scrolls, their covers worn but pulsing with a strange energy. In the center stood a pedestal, holding a single book, black, leather-bound, stamped with the symbol. The Chronicle of the Void. Elias's breath caught. It was real. He stepped closer, the candle's light flickering across the book's surface. His fingers hovered over it, afraid to touch. The air hummed, heavy with something alive. He glanced around, half expecting Clara or her order to appear. But he was alone, the shadows his only company. He touched the book, and pain stabbed behind. His eyes, the chamber vanished, and he was in the ruined city, ash choking the air. The sky burned with red and purple lights, and the voice boomed, "The key unlocks all." He saw himself holding the Chronicle, its pages glowing with starlight. Words appeared, shifting, telling of futures wars, stars falling, his own death. Then Clara, her face lit by the book, whispering, "We can control it." He gasped, back in the chamber, his hands still on the Chronicle. Its pages were blank now, but they shimmered like ink waiting to surface. He pulled away, his hands shaking. This was the book Clara wanted, the one his family had guarded or feared. He couldn't let her have it. Not yet. Footsteps echoed. Above, Elias froze, dousing the candle. The library door creaked open, and Clara's voice called, "Elias, you hear?" She'd come back, despite his order to leave. He slipped behind a shelf, his heart pounding. Her boots clicked closer, descending the stairs. Her flashlight beam cut through the dark, landing on the pedestal. "Elias," she said, her voice soft but urgent. "I know you're here. I saw." The shelf moved. "Please, we need to talk." He stayed silent, his back pressed against the cold stone. Clara stepped closer to the Chronicle, her breath hitching. "It's real," she whispered, reaching for it. Her pendant, the one from the attic, dangled from her neck, glowing faintly. The book's symbols pulsed in response, and Elias's head throbbed again. A vision hit, Clara in the ruined city, holding the Chronicle, her eyes cold as she said, "The order will rise." He stepped out, his flashlight blinding her. "Don't touch it," he growled. Clara flinched, her hand freezing. "Elias, listen, I'm sorry I lied. The order sent me, yes, but I want to protect the Chronicle, not use it. It's too dangerous. You said, "I'm the key," he snapped. "What does that mean? What do you want with me?" She lowered her hand, her face pale. "The Order's texts say the Chronicle only works for the marked people like you, who see time. Your visions, they're the key. You can read it, unlock it. I don't, now real system, know how it works." Her eyes softened, a flicker of guilt. "I wasn't trying to trick you. I needed to be sure." Elias's jaw tightened. "Sure of what? That I'm some kind of pawn for your order?" "No," she said, stepping closer. "That you're strong enough. The Chronicle's power, it breaks people. Your family knew that. I think you can handle it." He didn't believe her. The visions, the book, the manor, they were all screaming danger. He grabbed the Chronicle, tucking it under his arm. "Get out, Clara. I don't trust you." She stared at him, her eyes pleading. "Elias, please. The Order's coming. If they find this place, they'll take it. And you." His blood ran cold. "They're coming here, soon," she said. "I was supposed to report back. I didn't, but they'll figure it out." Elias's grip on the book tightened. The chamber felt smaller, the shadows darker. He didn't know what to believe, but he knew one thing. The Chronicle was his, and he wasn't giving it up. "Leave," he said, his voice low. "Now." Clara hesitated, then nodded, backing toward the stairs. "I'll try to stall them," she said. "But you need to hide that book. And yourself." She turned and left, her footsteps fading. Elias stood alone, the Chronicle heavy in his hands. The symbols on the walls glowed faintly, and the voice whispered in his mind, "The key is you." He didn't know what it meant, but the weight of it was crushing. The manor, the book, Clara's order, they were closing in, and he was running out of time. Chapter 7. The starless night. Elias clutched the Chronicle of the Void, its leather cover cold against his skin. The hidden chamber's shadows pressed close, the glowing symbols on the walls pulsing faintly, like a heartbeat. Clara's warning echoed in his mind. The Order's coming. He was alone in Varnholt Manor, the weight of the book and his visions crushing him. The voice from his dreams whispered again, "The key is you," but it offered no answers, only dread. He climbed the stairs back to the library, the Chronicle tucked under his arm. The manor was silent, its creaks and groans louder in the dark. The fog outside had thickened, blotting out the moon, making the windows black. He set the book on the table, its symbol circle and jagged lines staring up at him. He didn't dare open it, not after the vision it triggered. The ruined city, the sky of fire, his own death, they were too real. Elias paced, his flashlight beam darting across the shelves. Clara's betrayal stung, but her warning about the Order scared him more. Who were they? Why did they want the Chronicle and him? He thought of his family, the marked ones Clara mentioned. His great-grandfather's journal, the mirror, the sundial, or pieces of a puzzle his ancestors had died to protect or hide. A sharp pain stabbed behind his eyes. He staggered, grabbing the table. The library vanished, and he was in the ruined city again, standing on a cracked street. The sky was wronged and burning with lights, but empty, a void without stars. The air was heavy, silent, like the world had stopped breathing. The voice boomed, "See the cost, Elias. See what comes." He saw himself, older, gaunt, staring at the starless sky, the Chronicle in his hands, its pages blank. Clara stood beside him, her face twisted with regret. "We were wrong," she said, her voice breaking. Elias gasped, back in the library, his knees buckling. The vision left him shaking, The starless sky burned into his mind. Was that the future? A world without light, without hope. He sank into a chair, his head in his hands. The Chronicle sat before him, silent but alive, its power pulling at him. He wanted to destroy it, to run, but he couldn't. It was his burden now. Morning came, grey and cold. The fog hadn't lifted, wrapping the manor in a shroud. Elias hadn't slept, his eyes red and heavy. He hid the Chronicle in a locked drawer, though it felt pointless. If the order was coming, they'd find it. He made coffee, the routine a thin comfort. The kitchen's stone walls felt like a cage, the portraits in the hall watching, judging. He thought of Clara. She'd lied, used him, but her fear of the order seemed real. Was she stalling them, like she'd promised? Or leading them here? He didn't know who to trust her, the manor or himself. The visions were growing stronger, showing him futures he didn't want. The starless sky, Clara's regret, his own hollow face. Was that his fate, or could he change it? A knock at the door made his heart lurch. He froze, coffee mug in hand. It was too soon for Clara. She'd left only hours ago. He set the mug down and grabbed his flashlight, his pulse racing. The knock came again, sharp and insistent. He crossed to the entrance hall, the portrait's eyes boring into him. He opened the door a crack, peering out. No one was there. The porch was empty, the fog swirling like a living thing. But on the step lay a small object, a pendant, identical to Clara's, carved with the symbol. Elias's stomach twisted. He picked it up, its metal cold and heavy. A note was tied to it, scrawled in tight script. "They're close. Hide the book. Trust no one." He slammed the door, his hands shaking. Was this from Clara, or a trick? The Order knew he had the Chronicle, or at least suspected it. He tucked the pendant in his pocket and checked the drawer. The book was still there, its presence a weight he couldn't shake. He spent the day fortifying the manor, locking doors, boarding windows. The fog grew thicker, the air colder. Every creak made him jump. Every shadow looked like a figure. He avoided the library, the attic, the clearing anywhere the visions might strike. But they came anyway, unbidden. He saw the starless sky again, felt its emptiness. Each vision drained him, leaving him hollow, by dusk. The manor was a fortress, but Elias felt no safer. He sat in the kitchen, the Chronicle on the table, the pendant beside it. The fog pressed against the windows, whispering. He thought he heard the voice again, faint and cold. "The key is you." He didn't touch the book, afraid of what it would show. A noise outside, a twig snapping, made him grab the flashlight. He crept to the window, peering through a gap in the boards. The fog was too thick, hiding everything. But he felt eyes on him, watching from the haze. The Order, Clara, something else. He didn't know, but the manor wasn't safe anymore. He took the Chronicle to his room, hiding it under the floorboards. The pendant went in his pocket, its weight a reminder of Clara's warning. He sat on his bed, flashlight in hand, listening to the manor's creaks. The starless sky haunted him, a future he didn't understand. Could he stop it? Did he even want to try? The fog whispered, and the voice returned. Clear now. See the cost, Elias. Choose. He didn't sleep that night, the Chronicle's power humming beneath him, the manor closing in like a trap. Chapter 8. The keepers, Mark Elias, sat on his bed. The Chronicle hidden beneath the floorboards, its presence like a heartbeat in the room. The pendant from the porch weighed heavy in his pocket, its carved symbol circle and jagged line. In his mind, Varnholt Manor was silent, But the fog outside whispered, and the voice from his visions echoed. See the cost, Elias, choose. The starless sky from his last vision clung to him, a future so empty it made his chest ache. He hadn't slept, his eyes gritty and sore. The manor felt alive, its walls watching, its shadows shifting. Clara's warning about the order of the veil gnawed at him. They were coming, she'd said, for the Chronicle, for him, and she'd called him the key, marked by the keeper of time. He didn't understand, but the truth was closing in, tight as a noose. Morning light crept through the boarded windows, grey and weak. Elias stood, his legs shaky, and checked the Chronicle. It was still there, safe under the floor. He pulled the pendant from his pocket, its metal cold. The note their close. Hide the book, trust no one was crumpled in his hand. Was it Clara's or a trap? He couldn't tell, but the symbol matched the mirror, the sundial, the book. It was part of this, part of him. He dressed, pulling on a worn jacket, and headed downstairs. The kitchen was cold, the air thick with the smell of damp stone. He made coffee, the pot's hiss a small comfort. As he reached for a mug, his sleeve slipped, revealing his wrist. He froze. A mark was there, faint but clear, a circle crossed with jagged lines, just like the pendant. It hadn't been there yesterday. His heart pounded. He rubbed the mark, but it didn't fade. It wasn't ink, wasn't a scar, it was part of him, etched into his skin. The keeper's mark, Clara had said. His family was marked, chosen or cursed. He stumbled to the sink, splashing water on his face, but the mark stayed. A quiet accusation. A knock at the door made him jump. He grabbed his flashlight, his pulse racing. The manor was locked tight, but the order could be here. He crept to the entrance hall, the portrait's eyes following him. The knock came again, softer now. He opened the door a crack, peering out. Clara stood there, her coat soaked, her face pale. Elias, let me in, she said, her voice low. Please, he hesitated, the mark burning on his wrist. Why should I? He asked, his voice sharp. You lied. I know, she said, her eyes meeting his. But I'm trying to help. The order there closer than I thought. I came to warn you. He didn't trust her, but he stepped aside. She hurried in, her satchel clutched tight. The hall was dim, the air heavy. What do you know about this? Elias asked, pulling up his sleeve to show the mark. Clara's eyes widened. The keeper's mark, she whispered. It's true, then. You're marked. Stop saying that, he snapped. What does it mean? She set her satchel down, her hands trembling. The order's texts, they talk about the marked, people who see time, who can use the Chronicle. The keeper chooses them, or curses them. It's why you're seeing visions. It's why the book reacts to you. Elias's stomach twisted. And the order wants me because of this. She nodded. They think the marked can control the Chronicle, maybe control time itself. But it's dangerous. Your great-grandfather, he was marked, too. He wrote about it, how the visions drove him mad. Elias backed away, the mark itching. I'm not mad, he said, but his voice shook. The starless sky, the voice, the ruined city, they were clawing at his mind, pulling him apart. I know, Clara said, stepping closer, but you need to trust me. The order's not far. They'll take the Chronicle, and they'll take you if they find out what you are. He didn't want to trust her, but her fear seemed real. What do they want with time? He asked. Power, she said. To change things, wars, disasters, anything. But the Chronicle's not a tool. It's alive. It serves the keeper, not us. The voice flashed in his mind. The key is you. He gripped the pendant, its edges biting his palm. And this, he asked, holding it up. You left it, didn't you? Clara's face fell. Yes, she admitted. I was scared. I thought it might protect you, or at least warn you. It's a relic, tied to the keeper. I didn't know about your mark then. He didn't know what to believe. The manor creaked, the fog outside pressing closer. They moved to the library. Clara's notebook opened to sketches of the symbol. She pointed to one. This mark, in texts, older than your family, older than this manor. It's a sign of the keeper's touch. Elias's head throbbed. A vision hit, sudden and sharp. He was in the ruined city, the starless sky above. The Chronicle glowed in his hands, its pages showing a future where the Order stood triumphant, Clara at their side. The voice whispered, "Choose, Elias. Save or break." He gasped, back in the library, Clara gripping his arm. "You saw something," she said, her voice urgent. "What was it?" He pulled away, his heart racing. "Nothing," he lied. "Just tired." She didn't believe him, but she didn't push. They spent the day searching, avoiding the hidden chamber. Elias kept the Chronicle's location secret, his trust in Clara thin. By dusk, the fog was a wall, hiding the world. Clara left, promising to return. "Hide the book," she said, "and watch your back." Alone, Elias checked the Chronicle. Still safe under the floorboards. The mark on his wrist glowed faintly, like the sundial, like the mirror. The manor's shadows whispered, and the voice came again. "The cost is near." He didn't sleep, the mark a reminder that he was bound. To something bigger, something he couldn't escape. Chapter 9. The broken clock. Elias sat in his bedroom. The Chronicle hidden beneath the floorboards, its presence a constant hum in his mind. The mark on his wrist itched, the faint glow of its jagged symbol circle and broken lines mocking. Varnholt Manor was quiet, but the silence felt heavy, like the fog outside was seeping through the walls. The voice from his visions echoed, "The cost is near." The starless sky from his last vision lingered. A future so dark it made his skin crawl. He hadn't slept, his eyes burning, his body tense. Clara's words about the Order of the Veil and the Keeper's mark churned in his head. He was marked, chosen or cursed, and the Chronicle was tied to it. The pendant in his pocket, Clara's warning felt like a stone, dragging him down. He didn't trust her, but her fear of the Order seemed real. They were coming, and he was running out of time. Morning light barely pierced the fog, casting the manor in a dull grey glow. Elias dressed in a worn sweater and jeans, his movements slow, like moving through water. He needed to understand the mark, the Chronicle, the key. The manor held answers, he was sure, but every step felt like walking into a trap. Downstairs, the entrance hall was cold, the portrait's eyes following him. A low, steady ticking caught his ear, faint but persistent. He froze, listening. The manor was full of old clocks, but this sound was new, coming from the drawing room. He followed it, his flashlight beam cutting through the gloom. The room was dusty, its furniture draped in sheets. In the corner stood a grandfather clock, its face cracked, its hands still, yet the ticking filled the air, loud in his head. Elias approached, his heart pounding. The clock's wood was carved with symbol circles, jagged lines, like the mark on his wrist. He touched the frame, and a vision hit, sharp and blinding. He was in the ruined city, the starless sky above. The Chronicle glowed in his hands, its pages showing his own death, his body broken, the manor in flames. The voice boomed, "The key opens all, but the cost is you." He saw Clara, her face pale, holding the pendant, whispering, "I'm sorry." He gasped, staggering back, the drawing room snapping into focus. The clock's ticking was gone, but his head throbbed, the vision's weight crushing him. The mark on his wrist burned, glowing brighter. He pulled his sleeve down, hiding it, but the truth was clear. The clock, like the mirror and sundial, was part of this. It knew him, knew his fate. He stumbled to the kitchen, splashing water on his face. The sink's drip was the only sound, steady and mocking. He thought of Clara, due to return soon. She'd lied, but she'd also warned him. Was she friend or foe? The vision showed her in the ruined city, but they didn't tell him why. He needed to know more, but the manor's secrets were tearing him apart. A knock at the door made his heart lurch. He grabbed the flashlight, his hands shaking, and crept to the entrance hall. The knock came again, soft but urgent. He opened the door a crack, expecting Clara. It was her coat damp, her green eyes wide. "Elias, we need to talk," she said, her voice low. "The order they're closer than I thought." He let her in, his trust thin. "What do you know?" he asked, his voice sharp. She stepped into the hall, her satchel heavy. "I intercepted a message. They know you have the Chronicle. They're coming tonight." His stomach dropped. "Tonight," she nodded, her face tense. "I tried to mislead them, but they're not stupid. We need to move the book, hide it somewhere they won't look." Elias's mind raced. The Chronicle was under his floorboards, but the manor was a maze good. He hid it better. He thought of the clock, its ticking in his head. "Why should I trust you?" he asked, his eyes on hers. "You've lied before." Clara's shoulders slumped. "I know. I was wrong to hide the order from you, but I'm here now, trying to help. The Chronicle's too dangerous for them, for anyone." He didn't answer, his hand brushing the pendant in his pocket. They moved to the drawing room, the clock looming in the corner. Clara's eyes flicked to it, narrowing. "This is new," she said, stepping closer. "These symbols, they're like the mark." Elias tensed. "You've seen it before." "In the Order's texts," she said, her voice low. "They call it a time anchor. It's tied to the keeper, like the mirror and sundial. It holds time together." His head throbbed again, the ticking returning, faint but real. "It's broken," he said, his voice tight. "But I heard it ticking." Clara's face paled. "That's not good. If it's active, it means the keeper's close, watching." A vision hit, unbidden. Elias saw the clock glowing, its hands spinning backward. The ruined city appeared, the starless sky swallowing light. The voice whispered, "The cost is you." He blinked, back in the room, Clara staring at him. "You saw something," she said, her voice urgent. "Tell me." He shook his head, the mark burning. "Nothing," he lied, "just tired." She didn't believe him, but she didn't push. They spent the day searching for a hiding place, avoiding the hidden chamber. Elias kept the Chronicle's location secret, his trust in Clara fragile. By dusk, the fog was a wall, the manor a fortress. Clara left, promising to watch for the order. "Hide the book," she said, "and stay safe." Alone, Elias checked the Chronicle, still under the floorboards. The clock's ticking started again, faint in his mind. The mark on his wrist glowed. and the voice whispered, "Choose, Elias." He didn't know what it meant, but the manor was closing in, and the order was near. Chapter 10. The ritual in the Celera script, the Chronicle of the Void. Its weight heavy under the floorboards of his bedroom, the mark on his wrist pulsed, its jagged symbol glowing faintly in the dim light of Varnholt Manor. The grandfather. Clocks ticking from the drawing room still echoed in his mind, though the clock itself was silent. The voice from his visions haunted him. Choose, Elias. The starless sky, the ruined city, his own death, they were futures he couldn't shake. And now Clara's warning burned in his thoughts. The order of the veil was coming tonight. The fog outside was a thick shroud, blotting out the world. The manor creaked, its shadows alive, watching. Elias hadn't slept, his body tense, his eyes sore. The mark, the chronicle, the clock, they were tied to the keeper of time, a being he didn't understand but feared. Clara's talk of time. Anchors and the order's plans made it worse. They wanted the chronicle, wanted him, because he was the key. But what did that mean? He checked the boarded windows, the locked doors. The manor was a fortress, but it felt like a trap. He pulled the chronicle from its hiding place, its leather cover cold. He didn't open it, afraid of the visions it brought. Instead, he tucked it under his jacket and grabbed his flashlight. He needed a better hiding spot. Somewhere the order wouldn't look. The cellar came to mind, a damp, forgotten place he'd avoided since childhood. Its stone walls and labyrinth of rooms could hide anything. He descended the narrow stairs from the kitchen, the air growing colder, heavier with the smell of earth and mildew. His flashlight beam danced across cobwebs and cracked stone. The cellar was vast, its passages twisting into darkness. In a far corner, he found a small room, its walls etched with faint symbol circles, jagged lines, like his mark. A stone table stood in the center, stained and worn. The air hummed like the chronicle was waking up. Elias set the book on the table, his hands shaking. This was the place. He could feel it. A noise above made him freeze footsteps, soft but deliberate. He doused the flashlight, his heart pounding. The cellar door creaked open, and Clara's voice called, "Elias, it's me. We don't have much time." He didn't move, his trust in her thin. She'd lied before, and her pen to the keeper made him wary, but her warning about the order was too real to ignore. He stepped out, flashlight on, finding her at the stairs. Her face was pale, her satchel clutched tight. "They're close," she whispered. "I saw their lights in the fog." "Why are you here?" Elias asked, his voice low. "I told you to stay away." "I couldn't," she said, her eyes pleading. "The order's not just after the chronicle. They know about you, about the mark. We need to act now." "Act how?" He snapped, the mark burning on his wrist. Clara hesitated, then pulled a folded paper from her satchel. "A ritual," she said. "The order's texts mention it, a way to contact the keeper, to ask for protection. It needs the chronicle, the mirror and the sundial, and you." Elias's stomach twisted. "Contact the keeper? Are you crazy?" "It's our only chance," she said. "The order's too strong. If we reach the keeper, maybe we can hide the chronicle, or, I don't know, bargain with it." He didn't like it. The keeper was the source of his visions, his curse, but the ticking in his head, the mark's glow, the order's threat, they left him no choice. "Fine," he said, "but I'm watching you." They gathered the items, Elias fetched the Chronicle from the cellar room. Clara retrieved the mirror from the attic, its frame heavy in her arms. The sundial was outside, too heavy to move, so Clara sketched its symbols instead. They set up in the cellar, the stone table, their altar. The mirror leaned against a wall, its glass dark. The Chronicle lay open, its blank pages shimmering. Clara's sketch of the sundial sat beside it, the symbols glowing faintly. Clara lit candles, their flames flickering in the damp air. She read. From her paper, her voice steady but tense. "The ritual's old," she said. "It calls the keeper's attention. You need to speak, Elias. You're the marked one." "What do I say?" he asked, his throat dry. "Ask for protection," she said. "For the Chronicle, for us. Be honest. The keeper, it knows you." Elias stared at the Chronicle, the mark. Burning. He didn't want to do this, but the order was coming, and the visions were closing in. He took a breath and spoke, his voice echoing in the cellar. "Keeper of time, I'm Elias Varnholt. I'm marked. I don't understand, but I'm here. Protect this book. Protect us. Please." The air shifted, growing heavy. The candles flickered, and the mirror shimmered, rippling like water. A vision hit, sharp and cold. Elias was in the ruined city, the starless sky above. A formless shape loomed the keeper, its presence vast, crushing. It spoke, not in words, but in thoughts. "The key is you. The cost is all." He saw Future's worlds burning, worlds saved, his own face in every one. Broken or defiant, he gasped, back in the cellar, Clara gripping his arm. "What happened?" she asked, her eyes wide. "I saw it," he whispered, his voice shaking. "The keeper, it knows me." The mirror glowed, its symbols pulsing. The Chronicle's pages fluttered, showing glimpses of starlight. The voice came again, faint but clear. "Choose, Elias. The cost is near." The cellar trembled, dust falling from the ceiling. Clara's face was pale. "It worked," she said, "but we need to move. The order's here." A crash above the front door, splintering, proved her right. Elias grabbed the Chronicle, his heart racing. The ritual had called the keeper, but it had also called something else. The manor's shadows deepened, and the fog outside roared. Chapter 11. The voice beyond the cellar shook, dust raining from the ceiling as the crash of the splintered front door echoed through Varnholt Manor. Elias clutched the Chronicle of the Void, its leather cover icy against his skin. The mark on his wrist burned, glowing with the jagged symbol circle and broken lines. Clara stood beside him, her face pale, her flashlight beam trembling in the dark. The ritual they'd performed had called the Keeper of Time, its vast, formless presence. Lingering in Elias's mind, "The key is you. The cost is all." Now, the Order of the Veil was here, their footsteps heavy above. "We need to move," Clara whispered, her voice tight. The mirror leaned against the cellar wall, its glass still rippling from the ritual, the symbols on its frame pulsing faintly. The Chronicle's pages fluttered, showing glimpses of starlight. The air hummed, heavy with something alive, something watching. Elias's heart pounded. The vision of the keeper, a crushing, endless void, had left him. Shaken, it had spoken to him, not in words, but in thoughts that cut deep. And now the order was breaking in, hunting the book, hunting him. "Where do we go?" he asked, his voice low, his trust in Clara thin. "The tunnels," she said, pointing to a dark passage behind the stone table. "This cellar connects to old passages under the manor, We can hide the Chronicle there. He hesitated, the mark burning hotter. Clara had lied before, but her fear now seemed real. The footsteps grew louder, voices shouting above cold, clipped, commanding, "Find the book, check every room." Elias grabbed the Chronicle and followed Clara. The mirror's glow fading behind them. The tunnel was narrow, its stone walls damp and slick. Elias's flashlight cut through the dark, revealing cobwebs and cracked floors. The air was thick, smelling of earth and rot. Clara led her steps quick, her satchel bouncing against her hip. "These tunnels were your family's," she said, her voice echoing. "They hid things, yearbooks, relics, secrets." Elias didn't answer, his mind on the keeper's voice. "The cost is all." The Chronicle felt heavier, its power pulling at him. The mark on his wrist throbbed, and a vision hit, sudden and sharp. He was in the ruined city, the starless sky above. The keeper loomed, a shadow without form, its thoughts flooding him. "You are the key. Open the door, or all fades." He saw himself, holding the Chronicle, its pages showing futures worlds saved, worlds lost. Clara's face in every one, her eyes torn between guilt and resolve. He gasped, stumbling in the tunnel. Clara caught his arm, her grip firm. "Another vision?" she asked, her eyes searching his. "Yeah," he muttered, pulling away. He didn't tell her what he saw. Her face in the visions always there, always holding the book, made him wary. "Keep moving." The tunnel twisted, branching into darkness. Clara stopped at a rusted iron door, its surface etched with the symbol. "Here," she said, pushing it open. The room beyond was small, its walls carved with glowing symbols, like the hidden chamber. A stone slab sat in the center, perfect for hiding the Chronicle. Elias set the book down, his hands shaking. The symbols on the walls pulsed, and the keeper's voice returned. Not a whisper, but a roar in his mind. "Ask Elias. Know the truth." The air grew heavy, the candles from the ritual still in Clara's satchel flickering without being lit. The room felt alive, the keeper's presence pressing close. "What's happening?" Clara asked, her voice shaking. She stepped back, her pendant glowing faintly. Elias's mark burned, and he spoke, the words spilling out. "Keeper, show me," he said. "What's the cost? What's the key?" The room trembled, the symbols blazing. The Chronicle's pages flipped open, starlight spilling out. A vision swallowed him, deeper than before. He was nowhere, not the city, not the manor, but a void, endless and black. The keeper was there, not a shape, but a force, vast and cold. Its thoughts crashed over him. "You are the key. The Chronicle. Is time. To save one, you lose another. Choose." He saw flashes his death. Clara's betrayal, the order triumphant, the starless sky. Then a new future, the manor standing, the fog gone, the Chronicle hidden forever. But he wasn't there. The cost was him. He snapped back, gasping, the room still shaking. Clara was at his side, her face white. "What did you see?" she demanded. "The keeper," he said, his voice hoarse. It wants a choice. Me or the world." Her eyes widened. "What does that mean?" Before he could answer, a shout echoed from the tunnel. "They're here," a man's voice barked. Flashlights swept the passage, boots stomping closer. The order. Elias grabbed the Chronicle, his heart racing. "We need to go," he said, shoving it into his jacket. Clara nodded, pulling him toward another tunnel. The symbols on the walls dimmed, the keeper's presence fading, but its voice lingered. "Choose, Elias." They ran, the tunnel twisting. The order's shouts growing louder. The manor was no longer a sanctuary, it was a battlefield, and Elias was the prize. Chapter 12. Betrayal in the misty Elias ran through the tunnel. The Chronicle of the Void pressed against his chest, its weight like a stone. The mark on his wrist burned, the keeper's voice still ringing in his head. Choose, Elias. Clara's flashlight bobbed ahead, her steps quick in the damp. Twisting passage beneath Varnholt Manor. The Order of the Veils shouts echoed behind them, their flashlight beams slicing through the dark. Find the book, find the marked one. A man's voice barked, cold and sharp. The tunnel smelled of earth and rot, its walls slick with moisture. Elias's heart pounded, his breath ragged. The keeper's vision, the void, the starless sky, the choice between himself and the world clawed at his mind. Clara had led him here, promised to help, but her face in his visions, always holding the glowing chronicle, made him doubt her. Was she saving him or leading him to a trap? Faster, Clara hissed, glancing back. Her green eyes were wide, her face pale in the flashlight's glow. She reached a fork in the tunnel, pausing to check her notebook. This way, she said, pointing left. But Elias grabbed her arm, his grip tight. Why should I follow you? He asked, his voice low, shaking. You've lied before. How do I know this isn't a setup? Clara's face hardened, but her eyes flickered with guilt. I told you, I'm sorry. I didn't know they'd come this fast. I'm trying to keep you alive, Elias. He didn't let go, the mark burning hotter. You're with the Order. You said so yourself. Not anymore, she snapped, pulling free. I broke their rules coming here alone. If they catch me, I'm as good as dead. Now move. A shout closer, now cut off his reply. Flashlights swept the tunnel behind them. Elias cursed under his breath and followed her, the chronicle heavy in his jacket. The tunnel narrowed, forcing them to duck under low beams. Cobwebs clung to his face, and the air grew colder, the fog from outside seeping in through unseen cracks. They reached a rusted gate, its bars etched with the keeper's symbol circle and jagged lines. Clara pushed it open, the hinges screaming. Beyond was a small chamber, its walls bare except for a single carving, the symbol glowing faintly. We can hide here, she said, pulling Elias inside and shutting the gate. He set the chronicle on the floor, his hands trembling. The mark on his wrist pulsed, and a vision hit, sharp and sudden. He was in the ruined city, the starless sky. Above, Clara stood before him, holding the chronicle, its pages glowing. Her face was cold, her voice a whisper. The Order needs you, Elias. I'm sorry. The keeper's voice boomed. Choose, or all fades. He gasped, back in the chamber, Clara shaking him. Elias, snap out of it, she said, her voice urgent. What did you see? You, he said, his voice hoarse. You gave me to the Order. Her eyes widened, then narrowed. That's not true. I'd never before, she could finish. The gate rattled. Flashlights pierced the dark, and a man's voice called, They're here. Seal the tunnel. Clara moved fast, grabbing the chronicle and shoving it into her satchel. We need to go now. Elias grabbed her wrist, his heart racing. Give it back, he growled. I don't trust you. She froze, her face torn. Elias, there's no time. Give it, he shouted, yanking the satchel. The chronicle fell out, hitting the floor with a thud. The chamber shook, the symbol on the wall blazing. The keeper's voice roared in his mind. She betrays. Choose. Clara lunged for the book, but Elias was faster, snatching it up. He backed away, flashlight raised like a weapon. You were going to take it, he said, his voice shaking. You're still with them? No, she cried, her hands up. I was protecting it. The order's here, Elias. They'll kill us both. The gate burst open, and 3 figures stormed in, men in dark coats. Their faces hard, pendants like Clara's glinting at their necks. The marked one said, his voice cold. And the traitor. Clara spun, her flashlight blinding them. Run, she shouted, shoving Elias toward a side passage. He hesitated, the Chronicle clutched tight, then ran, her footsteps behind. Him, the tunnel twisted, the order's shouts echoing. The fog grew thicker, spilling into the passage. Whispering with the keeper's voice, choose. They reached a dead end, a stone wall blocking their path. Elias turned, his back against it, the Chronicle heavy in his hands. Clara's face was pale, her breath ragged. I didn't betray you, she said. I swear. The order's flashlights closed in, their voices sharp. Elias's mark burned, and the vision flashed again. Clara, handing him to the order. The starless sky above. He didn't know what to believe, but the fog was alive, the keeper watching, and the choice was his. Chapter 13. The city of ruins. Elias, pressed against the cold stone wall. The Chronicle of the Void clutched tight to his chest. The tunnel's dead end trapped him, the fog swirling thick around his ankles, whispering with the keeper's voice. Choose. Clara stood beside him, her flashlight shaking, her face pale in the dim light. The Order of the Veil's shouts grew closer, their flashlight beams slicing through the dark beneath Varnholt Manor. The marked one, a man's voice barked. He's here. Elias's wrist burned, the keeper's, marked circle and jagged, lines glowing faintly. His heart pounded, Clara's betrayal in his vision fresh, her handing him to the order, the starless sky above. He didn't trust her, but the order was here, their boots stomping closer. The Chronicle felt alive in his hands, its power humming, pulling at him. Elias, we can't stay. Clara whispered, her green eyes wide with fear. There's got to be a way out. He glared at her, his voice low. You tried to take the book. I saw you. I was protecting it. She hissed, her hands up. The order can't get it, or you. Before he could argue, a sharp pain stabbed behind his eyes. The tunnel vanished, and he was in the ruined city from his visions, standing on a cracked street. The sky was a void, starless and black, swallowing. Light ash choked the air, and the Chronicle glowed in his hands, its pages pulsing with starlight. A figure approached himself, older, worn, his grey eyes hollow. Don't trust her, the older Elias said, his voice rough. The keeper's gift is a curse. It traps you. The keeper's voice boomed, not in words but in thoughts. The key is you. Choose, or all fades. Elias saw Future's worlds burning, the order triumphant, Clara's face torn with guilt. Then the vision shifted, the manor standing, the fog gone. But he was absent, erased. The cost was clear. He gasped, back in the tunnel, Clara shaking him. Elias, snap out of it, she said, her voice sharp. The order's lights were closer, their voices louder. We need to move. He clutched the Chronicle, his mind reeling. The older Elias's warning, don't trust her, clashed with Clara's. Please, but the order was here, and the tunnel was a dead end. He scanned the wall, his flashlight catching a faint seam, a hidden door. He pushed, muscles straining, and it gave way, revealing a narrow passage. "Go," he said, shoving Clara ahead. They slipped through, the door grinding shut behind them. The passage was tight, the air cold and damp. The Chronicle's weight dragged at him, the mark on his wrist burning. The Order's shouts faded, muffled by the stone. But Elias knew they weren't safe. The passage opened into a small chamber, its walls carved with glowing symbol circles, jagged lines, like his mark. A stone pedestal stood in the center, empty but humming with energy. Elias set the Chronicle down, his hands shaking. The fog had followed them, curling through cracks, whispering. "Choose." Clara's flashlight swept the room. "This place," she said, her voice low. "It's older than the manor, like it was built for the Chronicle." Elias didn't answer, his mind on the vision. The older Elias, the starless sky, the Keeper's warning they were real, and he was running out of time. "What does the Order want with me?" he asked, his voice tight. Clara hesitated, her eyes on the Chronicle. "You're the key," she said. "The marked one. The Chronicle only works for you. They think they can use you to control time, change the past, shape the future." "And you?" he asked, stepping closer. "What do you want?" She met his gaze, her face torn. "I want to stop them. The Chronicle's too dangerous, I thought. I thought I could protect it, protect you. But I was wrong to lie." He didn't believe her, not fully. The vision of her betrayal was too vivid. But the Order's footsteps echoed again, closer now. They'd found the hidden door. Elias grabbed the Chronicle, his heart racing. "We need to keep moving." Clara nodded, leading him to another passage. The fog grew thicker, the Keeper's voice louder. "The cost is you." Elias's wrist burned, and another vision hit, brief but sharp. The ruined city. Himself standing alone, the Chronicle gone, Clara's voice whispering, "I'm sorry." He shook it off, running faster, the Order's lights behind them. The passage ended at a rusted ladder, leading up to a trapdoor. Clara climbed first, pushing it open. They emerged in the manor's garden, the fog a heavy blanket, the sundial looming in the distance. Its symbols glowed, matching the mark on his wrist. The Order's shouts were close, their lights cutting through the mist. "We can't outrun them," Clara said, her voice shaking. "We need to hide the book." Elias clutched the Chronicle, the older Elias's warning in his head. The Keeper's gift is a curse. He didn't know who to trust, Clara, the Keeper, or himself. But the fog whispered, the mark burned, and the choice was coming. Chapter 14. The weight of choice. Elias stood in the manor's garden. The Chronicle of the Void clutched tight against his chest. The fog swirled thick, muffling the world, the sundial's glowing symbols casting a faint light. Clara's flashlight beam darted through the mist, her breath quick and sharp. The Order of the Veil's shouts echoed from the tunnel below, their boots crunching closer. The mark on Elias's wrist burned, the Keeper's voice a relentless whisper. "The cost is you." The vision of the ruined city, his older self warning against Clara, and the starless sky weighed heavy, pressing him toward a choice he didn't understand. "We can't stay here," Clara hissed, her green eyes wide with panic. "They'll find us." Elias's heart pounded, his trust in her frayed. The vision of her betrayal handing him to the Order, the Chronicle glowing in her hands, was too clear. But the Order was real, their voices sharp in the fog. The marked one. Find the book. He had no time to doubt. "Where do we go?" he asked, his voice low, the Chronicle heavy in his grip. The forest, Clara said, pointing to the dark trees beyond the sundial. It's dense, hard to track. We can lose them there. He hesitated, the older Elias's warning ringing. The keeper's gift is a curse. But the Order's lights were closing in, their beams cutting through the fog. He nodded, following Clara. As they ran, the sundial's glow fading behind them. The forest swallowed them, its branches clawing at their clothes, the fog so thick it felt alive. The Chronicle's weight dragged at Elias, its power humming, the mark on his wrist pulsing in time. They wove through twisted trees, the ground slick with moss. Clara moved fast, her flashlight flickering, but Elias's mind was on the visions. The keeper had shown him futures worlds burning, worlds saved, his own absence the cost of the latter. Could he change it? Was the starless sky inevitable, or was it a warning? The older Elias had said the Chronicle was a trap, but it was all he had. A vision hit, sharp and sudden, stopping him in his tracks. He was in the ruined city, the starless sky above, the Chronicle open in his hands. His older self stood before him, face gaunt, eyes hollow. "You can change it," he said. "The keeper lies. The future's not set, but the cost." The voice cut in. "Choose, Elias. Save or break." The city faded, replaced by the manor, standing whole, the fog gone. The Chronicle hidden, but Elias was gone, erased from the world. He gasped, stumbling, Clara grabbing his arm. "Elias, what's wrong?" she asked, her voice urgent, her flashlight blinding him. "Another vision," he admitted, his voice hoarse. "I saw me, older. He said I can change the future." Clara's eyes narrowed, but she didn't push. "We need to keep moving. They're close. The Orders." Shouts were louder now, their lights flickering through the trees. Elias clutched the Chronicle tighter, his wrist burning. "The keeper said there's a cost," he said, watching her. "What do you know about it?" Clara's face tightened. "The Order's texts say the Chronicle demands a price, something personal, something big. Your family knew. That's why they hid it." She paused, her eyes softening. "I don't want you hurt, Elias, I swear." He didn't believe her, not fully. The vision of her betrayal was too vivid, but the forest was no place to argue. They ran deeper, the fog wrapping around them, the keeper's voice whispering, "Choose." The trees grew denser, their branches like skeletal hands. Elias's legs burned, his breath ragged, but he kept going. The Chronicle, a lifeline and a curse. They reached a small clearing, a fallen tree blocking their path. Clara stopped, panting, her flashlight sweeping the fog. "We can't keep running," she said. "We need to hide the book, now." Elias's grip tightened. "Not until I know what it does, what I am." She turned to him, her face pale. "You're the key, Elias, the marked one. The Chronicle only works for you. That's why the Order wants you. But you can use it, change things, stop them." "How?" he asked, his voice shaking. "The visions they show me dying or gone. Is that the cost?" Clara's eyes flickered with guilt. "I don't know," she admitted. "The texts don't say. But you're stronger than they think. You can fight it." The Order's voices were close, their lights piercing the fog. Elias's wrist throbbed, and another vision flashed. The ruined city. Clara holding the Chronicle, her voice cold. The Order was right. He shook it off, his heart racing. "We hide the book," he said, "but I'm keeping it close." They buried the Chronicle under the fallen tree, covering it with dirt and leaves. The mark on his wrist dimmed, but the keeper's voice lingered. The cost is near. The Order's lights were almost on them, their shouts clear. Elias and Clara ducked behind a tree, the fog their only shield. The choice was coming, and Elias wasn't ready. Chapter 15. The Order's pursued Elias, crouched behind the gnarled tree, his breath shallow, the fog curling around him like a living thing. The Chronicle of the Void was buried beneath the fallen log, hidden under dirt and leaves, but its absence felt like a hole in his chest. Clara pressed close, her flashlight off, her green eyes darting through the mist. The Order of the Veil's lights pierced the forest, their voices sharp and close, spread out, the marked ones near. The mark on Elias's wrist throbbed. The keeper's voice a faint whisper, the cost is near. The fog muffled the world, but not enough. Boots crunched on twigs, flashlights swept the trees, and Elias's heart pounded. The vision of his older self warning him about Clara, about the keeper's curse clashed with her claim to help. She'd urged him to hide the Chronicle, but the image of her handing him to the Order burned in his mind. He didn't trust her, but the Order was here, and running was their only chance. "Stay low," Clara whispered, her hand on his arm. "They're too close." Elias pulled away, his voice a hiss. "Don't touch me, I'm watching you." Her face tightened, but she nodded, the fog swallowing her reply. A flashlight beam grazed their tree, and Elias froze, the mark on his wrist burning hotter. A vision hit, quick and sharp. The ruined city, the starless sky above, himself standing alone, the Chronicle gone. Clara's voice echoed, cold, distant. "It's done." The keeper's voice cut through. "Choose or break." He snapped back, gasping, the forest clearing round him. Clara's eyes were on him, wide with worry. "Another vision?" she asked, her voice barely audible. "Yeah," he muttered, his hands shaking. He didn't tell her what he saw. Her betrayal was too real. The Order's lights were closer, their voices clearer. "He's here. Find the book." A man in a dark coat stepped into the clearing, his pendant glowing with the keeper's symbol circle. Jagged lines, Elias's stomach twisted. The pendant matched Clara's, the one she'd left on the porch. Was she signaling them? He gripped his flashlight, ready to fight, but Clara pulled him deeper into the shadows. "Not now," she whispered. "We can't take them." The man scanned the clearing, his flashlight lingering on the fallen log. Elias's heart stopped had they left tracks. The man knelt, brushing the dirt, then stood, shaking his head. "Nothing here," he called, moving on. Elias exhaled, his body trembling. The Chronicle was safe, for now. Clara tugged his sleeve, pointing to a narrow path through the trees. "That way," she said. "It loops back to the manor. We can hide there." Elias didn't move, his eyes on her. "Why the manor, so you can hand me over?" Her face flushed with anger. "I'm not with them, Elias. I risked everything to warn you. Believe me or don't, but we're dead if we stay here." The Order's lights swept closer, their voices a low hum. Elias had no choice. He followed her. The fog thick, the forest a maze of shadows. The mark on his wrist pulsed and small. Visions flickered. Clara dropping her notebook, a branch snapping under his foot. They happened moments later, the future bleeding into now. He clenched his jaw, fighting the dizziness. The path twisted, the trees thinning as the manor's silhouette loomed through the fog. Its windows were dark, the sundials glow faint in the distance. Clara stopped, her breath quick. "We need a plan," she said. "The Order won't stop. They'll tear the manor apart." Elias's mind raced. The Chronicle was hidden, but the manor was his only refuge. The visions showed him future's death, erasure, betrayal, but his older self had said he could change them. "We fortify the manor," he said. "Lock it down, wait them out." Clara nodded, but her eyes flickered with doubt. "They're trained, Elias. They have relics, things like my pendant. They'll find us. Then we fight," he said, his voice hard. The keeper's whisper returned, "Choose." He didn't know what it meant, but he wouldn't let the order take him. They slipped into the manor through a side door, locking it behind them. The halls were cold, the portrait's eyes glinting in the dark. Elias checked the Chronicle's hiding place in his mind. It was safe, buried in the forest. But the mark on his wrists burned, and a vision hit. The order in the manor, Clara holding the Chronicle, her face cold. He shook it off, his hands shaking. Clara barricaded the door, her movements quick. "We need to check the upper floors," she said. "Make sure they can't get in." Elias watched her, the vision of betrayal lingering. "You go," he said. "I'll stay here." She paused, hurt flashing in her eyes. "Elias, I'm not your enemy. Prove it," he said, his voice cold. She stared at him, then nodded, climbing the stairs alone. Elias stood in the hall, the fog pressing against the windows, the keeper's voice whispering, "The cost is you." The order was out there, and Clara was upstairs. He didn't know who to fear more, but the choice was coming, and he had to be ready. Chapter 16. The shattered Valia stood alone in the dark, damp cellar of his crumbling estate. The air smelled of wet stone and melted wax. Candles flickered, their tiny flames dancing in the shadows. On a rough stone table, the Chronicle of the Void lay open, its pages glowing with a faint, starry light. The old mirror from the attic leaned against a wall, showing not his reflection but a swirling, empty darkness. Strange symbols carved into its frame pulsed like a heartbeat. The ancient sundial, dragged down here with Clara's help, sat in the center of the room. Its shadow moved in ways it shouldn't, twisting without any light to guide it. Elias's wrist burned where the keeper's mark had appeared, a weird symbol that matched the ones in the Chronicle. It felt like a warning, heavy and alive, tying him to something bigger than himself. He'd done the ritual, just like Clara told him. The words were strange, not like any language he knew, pulled from the Chronicle's pages. He'd spoken them, carefully, his voice shaking as the air grew thick. The candles dimmed, like something was sucking the light away. Now the cellar felt like a grave, its walls pressing in, cold and heavy. Elias's heart pounded. He was scared, but he couldn't turn back. Not now. A low hum started, soft at first, then louder, shaking the floor. It buzzed through Elias's bones, making his teeth ache. The mirror's surface rippled, like water disturbed by a stone. From it came something. Not a person, not a thing, but a mess of shadow and light, its edges blurry, like a drawing smudged by a careless hand. It was the keeper of time. Its voice wasn't one voice, but many, whispering in his head, sharp and cold like wind through broken glass. "You called me, seer of broken pieces. What do you want?" Elias's breath caught in his throat. His visions flashed in his mind, pictures of a ruined city, a sky burning with strange lights, his own death. They came fast, jumbled, like a dream he couldn't escape. "I want the truth," he said, trying to sound brave. His voice echoed in the quiet. "Why do I see these things? Who are you?" The keeper's presence grew heavier. The candlelight bent, twisting into shapes that hurt to look at. "Your memories are my gift," it said, its whispers crawling inside his skull. "I broke a timeline to save the world. You carry its pieces. Each vision is a shard of what was, what is, what might be." Elias's head spun, a timeline, broken. The ruined city, the alien lights, the warnings they were leftovers from a world that didn't exist anymore. His stomach twisted. "Why me?" he asked, his hands gripping the stone table so hard his knuckles turned white. The Chronicle's pages moved on their own, showing his face, older, tired, staring out from a dead place. "You endure," the keeper said. "You were chosen because you can carry it. But there's a price. To know the truth is to hold its weight. Will you keep it or let it fall apart?" The cellar felt smaller, the walls creaking like the estate was alive and angry. Elias saw flashes of the void, a place where time stopped, where stars melted into nothing. The keeper's words scared him. His visions weren't just dreams. They were holding reality together. If he kept them, everything might break. If he let them go, what would happen to him? Clara wasn't here. That worried him. She'd helped him start the ritual, then vanished. Was she planning something? Did she know more than she'd told him? He glanced at the Chronicle. Its glow faded for a moment. The mirror flickered, showing Clara holding the book, her eyes sharp with greed. Elias's chest tightened. Was she against him now? The keeper spoke again, its voice like a storm in his mind. "Choose, Elias Varnholt. The veil is thin. The world waits." The sundials' shadow spun, fast and wild, like a clock gone mad. Elias felt time itself breaking, each moment pulling him closer to a truth he wasn't sure he could handle. The estate, the fog, his visions, they were all part of something huge, something cosmic, and he was stuck in the middle. Elias's hands shook as he stared at the Chronicle. Its pages were alive, shifting, showing bits of his visions, flashes of fire, crumbling towers, faces he didn't know but felt he should. The mark on his wrist burned hotter, like it was trying to tell him something. He wanted to run, to leave the cellar and forget the keeper, but his feet wouldn't move. The air was too heavy, like it was pressing him into the ground. He thought of Clara. She'd come to the estate looking for the Chronicle, saying it was a book that held time itself. She'd known about his visions, too, or at least acted like she did, but now, seeing her in the mirror, holding the book with that look in her eyes, he wasn't sure. Had she used him? Was she part of some bigger plan? The keeper's words echoed. The veil is thin. What did that mean? Was reality really so fragile? The candles flickered again, their flames bending toward the sundial. Its shadow moved faster now, spinning in circles that made no sense. Elias felt dizzy, like the room was turning with it. He closed his eyes, and another vision hit him hard. He saw himself, older, standing in the ruined city from his dreams. The sky was black, no stars, just an empty void. His older self looked at him, eyes full of sadness. "You can't keep it all," the older Elias said. "It's too heavy." Elias opened his eyes, gasping. The keeper was still there, its shadowy form filling the room. "What does it mean?" he asked, his voice small. "What am I supposed to do?" "Choose," the keeper said again. "Keep the visions and risk the world. Give them up and lose yourself. The price is always paid." Elias's mind raced. Lose himself. Did that Khrushchev meant give up his visions? Or did it mean something worse? The mark on his wrist pulsed, and he felt the weight of the Chronicle in his hands. It was warm, like it was alive. He set it down, afraid to hold it too long. The mirror showed nothing now, just darkness. The sundial's shadow slowed, but it still moved wrong, like it was counting time backward. He thought of the estate, its crumbling walls, its endless fog. It felt alive, like it was watching him. Was it part of this, too? The keeper's presence made the air feel wrong, like reality was bending. Elias wondered if the house itself was tied to the Chronicle, to the keeper, to him. Clara's face flashed in his mind. She'd known about the keeper's mark, the Chronicle, the sundial. She'd pushed him to do the ritual, but why? To help him, or to get something for herself? The mirror's image of her holding the book wouldn't leave his mind. He felt betrayed, but he wasn't sure. Maybe she was still his friend. Maybe. The keeper's voice broke his thoughts. Time phrase, Elias Varnholt. The veil will not hold forever. Elias looked at the Chronicle. A new page appeared, showing a single word written in glowing ink. Choose. His heart stopped. The book was talking to him, or the keeper was, or both. He didn't know anymore. All he knew was the weight of ether visions, the truth, the estate, the void. It was all on him. He stepped toward the sundial, his hand brushing its cold surface. The shadow stopped, pointing at him like an accusing finger. The candles went out, all at once, plunging the cellar into darkness. Only the Chronicle's glow remained, faint and cold. Elias felt the keeper watching, waiting. I don't know what to do, he whispered. The darkness didn't answer. Chapter 17. The price of truth. Elias stood in the pitch-black cellar. The Chronicle's faint starlight, the only thing keeping the darkness at bay. The candles were dead, snuffed out like they'd never burned. The air was heavy, pressing on his chest, making each breath feel like a fight. The keeper of time's presence lingered, its shadowy form gone, but his voice still echoing in his skull. Choose Elias Varnholt. The veil is thin. His wrist throbbed where the keeper's mark burned, a sharp reminder of the choice he couldn't escape. Keep his visions and risk the world, or give them up and lose himself. The words felt like a trap, but he didn't know how to break free. The sundial's shadow was still, pointing at him like a blade. The mirror against the wall showed nothing but a void, its strange symbols quiet now, no longer pulsing. The Chronicle lay open on the stone altar, its pages blank except for that one word, choose. Elias's hands shook as he stared at it. The book felt alive, watching him, waiting for him to decide. He didn't want to touch it, afraid it might pull him in, but he couldn't look away either. The estate groaned above him, a low creak like the house was breaking apart. Dust fell from the ceiling, tickling his face. The fog outside pressed against the cellar's small, cracked windows, thick and grey, moving like it had a mind of its own. Elias felt trapped, not just by the keeper, but by the estate itself. It was like the house was part of this part of him, part of the visions, part of the cosmic mess he was stuck in. He thought of Clara. She was gone, maybe hiding, maybe plotting. The mirror's image of her holding the Chronicle, her eyes sharp and greedy, stuck in his mind. Had she known this would happen? Had she pushed him to do the ritual to trap him here, alone with the keeper? He wanted to trust her. She'd been kind at first, curious, helping him dig through the estate's secrets. But now, doubt gnawed at him. She'd known too much about the Chronicle, the keeper, the mark. Was she his friend, or was she using The keeper's words came back. The price is always paid. Elias's stomach twisted. What was the price? His memories, his life, or something bigger, something that could break the world? He paced the cellar, his boots scuffing the damp stone. The air was cold, but he was sweating, his heart racing like he'd run a mile. He stopped by the sundial, its shadow still pointing at him. He reached out, his fingers brushing its edge. It was ice cold, and for a moment he saw a vision of himself, older, standing in the ruined city from his dreams, the sky black and empty. "You can't keep it all," the older Elias said again, his voice heavy with regret. Elias pulled his hand back, gasping. The vision faded, but it left a weight in his chest. He didn't want to lose himself, but he didn't want the world to burn either. The keeper had shown him the void, a place where time stopped, where nothing existed. Was that what waited if he made the wrong choice? He turned to the Chronicle. Its glow was weaker now, like it was fading. He stepped closer, his hand hovering over the pages. They moved, slow and soft, like a heartbeat. A new page appeared, showing a single image. The estate, crumbling to dust under a sky full of stars. Elias's breath caught. Was this the future? Or a warning? He didn't know, but it scared him. The house was tied to him, to the visions, to the keeper. If it fell, what happened to him? A noise broke his thoughts. Sharp crack, like wood snapping. It came from above, from the estate's upper floors. Elias froze, listening. Another crack, then a low rumble, like something heavy was moving. The fog outside the windows swirled, faster, pressing harder against the glass. He felt watched, not just by the keeper, but by the house itself. Its walls seemed to breathe, the shadows shifting in ways that didn't match the Chronicle's light. "Clara." He called, his voice small in the huge cellar. No answer. He wasn't sure if he wanted her to be there or not. If she was, would she help him or betray him? He grabbed the Chronicle, its weight heavy in his hands, and tucked it under his arm. He didn't trust leaving it here. Not with Clara missing and the estate acting strange. He moved to the cellar stairs, each step creaking under his boots. The air grew colder as he climbed, the Chronicle's glow dimming with every step. At the top, he pushed open the heavy door to the main hall. The estate was dark, its tall windows hidden by fog so thick it looked solid. The chandeliers above swayed, though there was no wind. The portraits on the walls' old Varnholt ancestors seemed to stare at him, their eyes following his every move. One painting caught his eye. It showed him, not his ancestors, standing in the fog with the Chronicle in his hands. He hadn't seen that before. His heart skipped. The house was changing, or his visions were dot. Another crack echoed, louder now, from the library upstairs. Elias hesitated, then started toward it, clutching the Chronicle tighter. The stairs groaned under his weight, each step feeling like a risk. The air was thick with dust, and the fog's grey light seeped through cracks in the walls. He reached the library door, its wood warped and splintered. He pushed it open. Inside, the library was a mess. Books were scattered on the floor, there, pages torn. The shelves leaned, like they might collapse. In the center stood Clara, holding a small, glowing orb etched with the same symbols as the Chronicle. Her eyes met his, and for a moment neither spoke. "Elias," she said, her voice soft but sharp. "You shouldn't have called the keeper." "What are you doing?" he asked, his grip on the Chronicle tightening. The orb in her hand pulsed, and he felt a tug, like it was pulling at his visions. "I'm trying to fix this," she said. The keeper's gift is a curse. You can't handle it. Give me the Chronicle, and I'll end it. He stepped back. You knew what the ritual would do. She sighed, her face tired but hard. I didn't lie to you, Elias. The Chronicle can control time, but only if we give the keeper what it wants. Your visions are breaking reality. Let me take them. The orb glowed brighter, and Elias felt a pull in his mind, like his visions were slipping away. He saw flashes Clara standing over him, the estate in ruins, the sky empty. Was this real or another trick? The keeper's voice whispered, the price. No, Elias said, backing toward the door. I don't trust you. Clara's eyes narrowed. You don't have a choice. The floor shook, and a crack split the library wall. The fog poured in, thick and cold, whispering her voice. Elias turned and ran, the Chronicle heavy in his arms, his heart pounding. The estate was falling apart, and Clara was behind him. The keeper's choice loomed, and he didn't know what to do, but he knew he couldn't let her win. Chapter 18. The final vision. Elias ran through the estate's dark halls. The Chronicle of the Void clutched tight against his chest. Its faint glow lit his path, but the light felt cold, like it was draining him. The house groaned around him, walls cracking, floorboards splintering under his boots. The fog outside pressed against the windows, seeping through gaps in the stone, its whispers sharp and mocking, carrying Clara's voice. You can't run, Elias. His wrist burned where the keeper's mark pulsed, each throb matching the pounding in his head. His visions flashes of ruined cities, starless skies, and his own death swirled in his mind, growing louder, heavier, like a storm he couldn't outrun. The library was behind him now, but Clara's footsteps echoed somewhere close. The glowing orb she held scared him. It had pulled at his visions, like it was trying to rip them out of his head. Was she working with the keeper, or against it? He didn't know, but her words, "Give me the Chronicle, and I'll end it," felt like a lie. The estate shook again, a deep rumble that made dust rain from the ceiling. The portraits on the walls stared down, their eyes now all his own, painted in moments he hadn't lived yet. One showed him holding the Chronicle, his face pale, the sky behind him black. His stomach twisted. Was this his future, or just another trick? He ducked into a side corridor, its walls lined with faded tapestries that smelled of mold. The air was thick, hard to breathe, like the fog was choking the house. He needed to hide, to think, to figure out what the keeper wanted and what Clara was planning. The Chronicle felt heavier with every step, its pages rustling on their own. He glanced down and saw a new image, himself, standing in the estate's ruined courtyard, the sundial glowing under a sky of endless stars. Words appeared in glowing ink. The final vision awaits. Elias stopped, his breath ragged. The keeper's voice whispered in his head, "Choose, Elias Varnholt. The price is near." He wanted to scream, to throw the book away, but it was all he had. The visions were his curse, but they were also his only weapon. He had to understand them before Clara caught up, before the estate collapsed, before the keeper's price took everything. He stumbled into the grand hall, its chandeliers swaying wildly above. The fog had broken through a window, curling across the floor like a living thing. It whispered his name, its voice sharp and cold. Elias's heart raced. He ran toward the staircase leading to the attic, where he'd found the mirror. Maybe it could show him something, anything, to make sense of this. The stairs creaked, threatening to give way, but he climbed. his boots slipping on dust and broken wood. The attic was dark, the air stale and heavy. The mirror stood where he'd left it, its surface still swirling with that empty void. Elias set the Chronicle on the floor and faced the mirror, his reflection faint, distorted, like he was fading. "Show me," he whispered, his voice shaking. "Show me what I need to know." The mirror rippled, and a vision hit him harder than any before. He was in the ruined city from his dreams, its towers broken, its streets littered with strange, glowing relics. The sky was empty, no stars, just a vast black void. He saw himself, older, scarred, holding the Chronicle. Clara stood beside him, but her eyes were wrung, glowing with the same light as the orb she'd held. "You were too late," she said, her voice not her own. The older Elias turned to him, his face full of pain. "You kept the visions," he said, "and it broke everything." The vision shifted. Elias saw the estate, whole again, under a sky full of stars. He was there, but different, calm, free, his wrist unmarked. The Chronicle was gone, its pages blank. The void was gone too, replaced by a quiet dawn. "You let them go," the older Elias said, his voice soft, "and you saved us." Elias staggered back, the vision fading. The mirror went dark, its symbols quiet. The Chronicle's glow pulsed, showing a single page. "The choice is yours." His head spun, the visions weren't fixed. He could change them. But the Keeper had warned him, changing the future could unravel reality. Was the peaceful vision real, or a trick to make him give up his power? And what about Clara? Was she his enemy, or was she trying to save him? A crash came from below, followed by Clara's voice, sharp and close. "Elias, you can't hide forever." The fog poured into the attic, thick and cold, wrapping around his legs. The house shook again, harder, like it was falling apart. Elias grabbed the Chronicle and ran to the attic window, smashing it open. The fog rushed in, but he climbed out onto the roof. The Chronicle tucked under his arm. The estate's roof was slick with moss, its tiles cracked and loose. The fog was everywhere, hiding the forest beyond, but the sky above was clear, filled with stars. Elias felt a strange calm, like the stars were watching him. The Chronicle glowed brighter, its pages flipping to show a new image, him, standing on this roof, facing Clara. She held the orb, its light pulling at his visions. The image faded, and Elias knew she was coming. He heard her climbing, her boots scraping the tiles. He turned, the Chronicle heavy in his hands. Clara appeared, the orb glowing in her grip, her face hard but her eyes uncertain. "Elias," she said, her voice softer now, "give me the book. The Keeper's lying to you. Your visions are tearing the world apart." "You're lying," he said, stepping back. The roof creaked under him. "You want the Chronicle for yourself?" She shook her head. "I'm part of an order. We've guarded time for centuries. The Keeper's using you to break it." "Please, Elias, trust me," the Keeper's voice whispered. "The price." Elias's visions flashed Clara betraying him, the estate in ruins, the void swallowing everything. But then he saw the other vision, the peaceful one, where he was free. He didn't know what to believe. The mark on his wrist burned, and the Chronicle's glow pulsed, like it was urging him to decide. "Choose," Clara said, echoing the Keeper. The orb in her hand glowed brighter, and Elias felt his visions slipping, like memories fading. The roof shook, tiles falling into the fog below. The stars above flickered, like they might vanish. Elias tightened his grip on the Chronicle. had to choose keep his visions and fight, or give them up and hope. The final vision had shown him both paths, but only one felt right. He took a deep breath, the fog cold in his lungs, and made his choice. Chapter 19. The last stand. Elias gripped the Chronicle of the Void, its weight pulling at his arms as he stood on the estate's crumbling roof. The fog swirled below, a grey sea hiding the ground, while the stars above burned bright, watching like silent judges. His wrists throbbed where the keeper's mark pulsed, hot and sharp, tying him to the visions that roared in his head-ruined cities, empty skies, his own death. Clara faced him, her boots steady on the slick tiles, the glowing orb in her hand, casting eerie light across her face. Its pull tugged at his mind, trying to rip his visions away. The estate groaned, tiles cracking beneath them, as if it was dying with his choice. The keeper's whisper echoed, "The price is paid." "Elias, give me the Chronicle," Clara said, her voice low but firm. Her eyes flicked between him and the book, a mix of fear and resolve. "You don't understand what you're holding. It's breaking reality. My order can stop it." "Your order?" Elias snapped, stepping back. A tile broke under his foot, tumbling into the fog. "You never told me about them. You lied from the start." His heart pounded, betrayal bitter in his throat. The vision from the mirror, Clara standing over him, her eyes glowing like the orb, flashed in his mind. Clara's actions in the vision made him wary. Was she saving the world, or stealing his power for her own ends? Clara's face hardened. "I didn't lie. I protected you. The Keeper's using you, Elias. Your visions are its weapon. If you keep them, everything ends: the void, the stars, us." The orb pulsed, and Elias felt another tug, his memories of the ruined city fading like a dream. He gripped the Chronicle tighter, its pages warm under his fingers. The roof shook, a deep rumble rising from the estate. A chimney nearby cracked, collapsing into the fog with a muffled crash. The Chronicle glowed, its light fighting the orb's pull. A new page appeared, showing Elias and Clara on this roof, the sky black, the estate in ruins. Words formed in starlit ink: "The last stand." Elias's breath caught. This was it, the moment his visions had been leading to. "Stop it, Clara," he said, his voice shaking but sure. "I saw what happens. I can change it. The Keeper showed me a way." She shook her head, stepping closer. "The Keeper's lying. It wants chaos. My order's been fighting it for centuries. The Chronicle belongs with us." The orb's light grew, and Elias's visions flickered flashes of the peaceful future. The estate whole, him free, started to fade. Panic rose in his chest. Was she right? Or was this her orders, planned to strip him of his power? The Keeper's voice returned, cold and vast. "Choose, Elias Varnholt. Keep the gift, or surrender it." The mark on his wrist burned like fire, and the Chronicle's glow surged, pushing back the orb's light. Elias saw another vision, unbidden. Clara handing the Chronicle to cloaked figures, their faces hidden, the orb glowing in their hands. The sky above them was empty, the void swallowing the stars. His stomach twisted. Clara's order wasn't saving the world, they wanted to control it. "You're wrong," he said, stepping toward her. The roof creaked, tiles sliding away. "Your order wants the Chronicler's power. I saw it. You're not fixing time, you're breaking it." Clara's eyes widened, but she didn't back down. "You're wrong, Elias. You're too deep in the Keeper's lies." She raised the orb, its light blinding. Elias felt his visions slipping faster, like sand through his fingers. The ruined city, the starless sky, the peaceful dawn fading. He couldn't let her take them. Not yet. He opened the Chronicle, its pages flipping wildly in the fog's wind. A surge of light burst from it, slamming into the orb. Clara staggered, the orb's glow dimming. The roof shook harder, a crack splitting between them. Elias's heart raced. He didn't know how to use the Chronicle, but it was responding to him like it knew his choice. "Stop," Clara shouted, lunging forward. Her hand grazed the Chronicle, and a shock ran through Elias, like lightning in his bones. A vision hit them both. He felt it showing the estate frozen in time, its walls glowing, the fog still. Clara's order stood trapped, their faces locked in fear, the orb dark in their hands. Elias was there, alone, the Chronicle blank in his arms, his wrist unmarked. The sky was clear, stars shining. They stumbled apart, gasping. Clara's face was pale, her eyes wide. "What was that?" she whispered. "The future," Elias said, his voice steady now. "I can stop your order. I can stop the Keeper, but not by giving up." The Chronicle glowed brighter, its pages showing the same vision. He understood now. The book wasn't just a record. It was a tool, a way to shape time. But it needed his visions, his will, to work. Clara shook her head, her hand tightening on the orb. "You're wrong. You'll destroy us all." She raised the orb again, its light flaring. Elias felt the pull, stronger now, his visions fading to grey. The estate roared, a wall collapsing somewhere below, the fog pouring in like a flood. Elias focused on the Chronicle, its warmth spreading through him. He saw the vision again, the estate frozen, the order trapped, the stars alive. He pushed his will into the book, picturing that future, willing it to be real. The Chronicle's light exploded, a wave of starlight that swallowed the orbs. "Glow," Clara screamed, dropping the orb. It shattered on the roof, its pieces dark and lifeless. The estate stopped shaking. The fog pulled back, thinning, revealing the forest beyond. The stars above burned brighter, like they were cheering. Elias fell to his knees, the Chronicle heavy in his hands, its glow fading. His wrist still burned, but the mark was fainter. Now, like it was letting go. Clara stared at him, her face a mix of shock and defeat. "What did you do?" she whispered. "I chose," Elias said, his voice raw. "I used the Chronicle to trap your order. They can't touch time now." She shook her head, backing away. "You don't know what you've done." The Keeper's not done with me," Elias cut in. "But I'm not done with it either." He stood, the Chronicle under his arm, its pages quiet. The roof was still, the estate silent. The fog was gone, the stars clear. He felt lighter, but not free. His visions were still there, faint but alive. And the Keeper's price loomed. Clara turned and ran, disappearing over the roof's edge. Elias didn't follow. He had his own fight left. The Chronicle showed one last image, him facing the Keeper in the cellar, the void behind them. The final page was blank, waiting. He climbed down, the estate's walls cracked but standing. The stars guided him back to the cellar, where the sundial and mirror waited. The Keeper's presence was there, watching. Elias opened the Chronicle, ready to face the last price, whatever it was. Chapter 20. The man forgotten Elias descended the creaking stairs into the cellar, the Chronicle of the Void heavy in his arms. Its glow was faint now, a dim pulse of starlight that barely lit the damp stone walls. The air was cold, thick with the scent of earth and wax, and the silence was heavy, broken only by the soft drip of water somewhere in the dark. The sundial stood at the center, its shadow still, pointing nowhere. The mirror leaned against the wall, its surface black, no longer swirling with visions. Elias's wrist ached where the keeper's mark had faded to a pale scar, but he felt its weight, a reminder of the choice he'd made and the price still owed. The estate above was quiet, its groans and cracks gone, as if it had exhaled its last breath after Clara's defeat. The fog had lifted, the stars clear, but Elias knew the Keeper of Time wasn't finished with him. He set the Chronicle on the stone altar, its pages still. The book felt different now, lighter, like it had given up part of its power when he trapped Clara's order in a frozen moment of time. His visions were quieter too, faint whispers of ruined cities and starless skies, no longer screaming in his head. But they weren't gone. The Keeper had promised a price, and Elias knew this was the moment it would collect. "Show yourself," he said, his voice steady despite the knot in his chest. The cellar felt smaller, the walls pressing in, like the world was holding its breath. The Keeper's presence stirred, a ripple in the air, and the mirror's surface shimmered. Shadows and light twisted within it, forming the Keeper's formless shaper, vast, fraying thing that seemed to spill beyond the glass. Its voice filled his mind, a chorus of whispers, cold and endless. Asterisk, you have chosen Elias Varnholt. The order is bound, the veil holds. Now, the price. Elias's hands tightened on the altar's edge. "What do you want?" he asked, his eyes locked on the mirror. "I stopped Clara. I used the Chronicle to save reality. Isn't that enough?" The Keeper's presence pulsed, bending the air like heat over stone. "You kept the visions," it said. "They are my gift, my curse. They anchor the timeline I collapsed, but they bind you to me. To free the cosmos, you must free yourself." Elias's heart sank. Free himself. The visions from the attic flashed in his mind, the peaceful future, the estate whole, his wrist unmarked. Was that what the Keeper meant? Giving up his visions, his memories of the future? He thought of the void, the place where time ceased, where stars dissolved. If he kept the visions, would he drag the world there? But without them, who was he? "Tell me plain," he said, his voice rough. "What's the price?" The Keeper's voice softened, almost sad. "Your memories of time past, present, future. Surrender them to the Chronicle, and the timeline stabilizes. Keep them, and the void creeps closer." The mirror showed a glimpse of the void, black, empty, swallowing light. Then it shifted, showing Elias standing in a quiet forest, the estate. Gone, his face calm, his hands empty. "Choose." Elias stared at the Chronicle. Its cover was warm, its pages blank, waiting. He thought of his life before the visions, the estate's shadows, his lonely days, the weight of his family's past. Then the visions had come, breaking his world, showing him futures he couldn't unsee. They'd brought pain, fear, but also power. He'd stopped Clara's order, saved the stars. Without them, he'd be nothing, just a man in a crumbling house. But with them, he risked everything. The estate creaked above, a soft sigh, like it was listening. Elias felt its presence, tied to him, to the Chronicle, to the Keeper. The house had changed with his visions, its portraits shifting, its fog alive. If he gave up his memories, Would it stand, or would it fade with him? He opened the Chronicle, its pages glowing faintly. A single image appeared. Him, sitting by a stream, the sky bright, no mark on his wrist, no visions, no keeper, no chronicle, just peace. His chest ached. He wanted that peace, but it felt like surrender. He'd fought so hard against Clara, against the void, against himself. Was this the end? To forget it all? The keeper's voice pressed. The veil phrase, Elias, choose. Elias closed his eyes, the visions flickering Clara's betrayal, the ruined city, the stars. He saw himself older, warning him to let go. He saw the peaceful dawn, free of the keeper's curse. His hands shook as he touched the chronicles. Pages, they were warm, alive, ready to take what he offered. He took a breath, the air cold in his lungs, and made his choice. I'm done, he whispered. Take them. The chronicle flared, its light blinding. Elias felt a pull like his. Soul was unraveling. His visions poured out every city, every sky, every warning flowing into the book's pages. His memories followed Clara's voice, the estate's halls, his own name fading like smoke. The keeper's presence hummed, satisfied, as the mirror went dark. The sundial's shadow vanished, its surface smooth. The cellar warmed, the air lightening, like a storm had passed. Elias staggered, the chronicle falling from his hands. It hit the floor, its pages blank, its glow gone. His wrist was bare, the mark erased. His mind was quiet, empty, like a house, with no echoes. He didn't know who he was, where he was, or why he stood in this cold, dark place. But he felt light, free, like a weight he'd carried forever was gone. He climbed the stairs, his steps slow but sure. The estate was silent, its walls still, no fog at the windows. Dawn broke outside, soft light spilling through cracked glass. He walked out the front door, the forest beyond, green and alive, the air fresh. The stars were gone, hidden by morning, but he didn't miss them. He didn't know why. The chronicle lay in the cellar, its pages empty, waiting for another to find. The estate stood, its shadows quiet, no longer whispering. Elias walked into the forest, his past and future forgotten, a man at peace. The world turned on, the veil intact, the void held back for now,